Hello, hello. Yeah. Can you hear me? Does it sound okay? My microphone is on my desk, so I can like slide it around and stuff. I'm streaming upstairs. Sometimes I stream downstairs in front of the brick wall. But upstairs, I have my full PC with 2 monitors. And today we're looking at lots of stuff. So sorry, we're figuring it out. First, I'm gonna tweet out my own live stream link on Twitter. Okay. Cool. Aha. All right. Tweeted. That's out of the way. Now I should be able to. Camera? No? My camera might not be working. Oh, shoot. I unplugged my camera. I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. Ah. Camera. Whoa. Hello. Is that the camera? That feels wrong. Browser. Aha. There we go. That's normal. Yay. Here I am. Welcome, chat. Today we're gonna do something really wonky and weird. So I'm trying to figure out like what candidates I should like pick, right? And I have some tools of like, okay, mathematically, what are the best ways to do that? So I might like make like a random Google Doc and like we'll spam through kind of our thought process here. But this is also we're gonna need Google Sheets for some stuff and compare a bunch of candidates and figure out which ones we like. But yeah, I want to do what I can to cause the most change for good in a major election season, okay? And this is just the midterms. This does not mean we need to find like the purest paradigm, best, once free universal Medicare for all and $1 billion for everyone. It's gonna mean picking some reasonable, fair, moderate, like stuff we can win that's feasible, and then flip a bunch of seats that can then do the most consequential good. It's not gonna be sexy. They're not gonna be the big, fancy, famous, oh, this guy should run for president, or like this is a big Senate race everyone's talking about right now. We're gonna focus on people literally no one has heard of, especially online, which will be really, really interesting. Hi, everyone. We're gonna focus on state legislature seats. And let me share my screen. I typically have my browser run to default to Google News. Let's see if that just pulls up. Aha, it does. Cool. Excuse me. I see. So I just opened Google News for the first time in like a hot minute. And this is what I see. Apparently. Oh, that's awesome. You're in charge of your county Democrat social media? That's super cool. Apparently, something about threatening to bomb a U.S. ally, and that's freaking out and stalling peace talks. So the usual, right? But I feel like we get into this trap. We get into this huge trap on the left where you just end up spiraling and circling into like orange man bad, right? We've criticized the mainstream media for this for years, where like they actually kind of created Trump as a problem by just reporting on every nothing burger thing he does that's like all attention seeking. Then like he always centers the story. They're like, can you believe Donald Trump said, and then repeat verbatim his entire propaganda talking point? That's bad. And it's like, okay, we know it's bad, but you've just given air to those ideas. Medically, like that helps them spread. Meanwhile, over the past decade, picture like 2010s, right? The Obama era was super cool, super popular. There was like movement after movement of like attention because we thought, why not? We can do good things. What's next? Oh, like let's be like feminist and inclusive, sure. LGBT rights, awesome. Black Lives Matter, cool. And like that's been kind of eroded and eroded and eroded. We no longer talk about climate change. We no longer talk about green energy. We no longer talk about the future. We're no longer optimistic. And we've let basically the right wing like build a positive message based on like 1950s magazine coffee ads about this like trad fantasy thing, white supremacy, whatever. And then on the left, we've just let the most radical people hey, thanks everybody. But the most radical people like neg us, which is like a straight up, it's like a sexist tactic. That's why I think women recognize it more, and women are standing up and speaking out more against like the kind of far left, where it's called negging, where it'll be like you're not good enough, right? Because it's a way to make you do the labor to prove yourself to other people, by like trying to insult you and push you down, so you feel lesser and you feel like you need to earn their approval. So then they just kind of take another step back and just try to like bully you and control you, and it really depresses turnout and depresses a positive vision. And even with groups like the Unfuck America tour, their whole thing is like they're going to try and debate the right wingers, but they're still going on the right wingers' terms. They're still like doing like exploring their topics. It's not really getting us forward. And even knowing that they're wrong and lose an argument, a lot of young white men will still voluntarily fall down the alt-right tradcath manosphere pipeline because it's offering them a vision of the future. It's offering them like a vision of good, something they stand for or care about. And on the left, like, even as someone who's like, hey, I would be fully willing to be like a cheerleader for the Democratic Party because, you know, by the numbers on policy, it leads to better outcomes for normal people. But like, and this is, I think, where Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries get a lot of shit, and it's kind of fair, but it shouldn't be their job. I think we need to create a new role that's like kind of a shadow like press secretary for Democrats in Congress, who just is about messaging and connecting with people. Because like, gun to my head, with the full voluntary will and desire to be a advocate for the Democratic Party, I don't know what they want me to say, because it looks a lot of time like they're just compromising on something that's like good and people like, and not explaining why. And so it's like seems kind of indefensible and embarrassing. And it's like I would love to advocate for this and then build this positive vision, something people get on board with. And I don't really know what to do. And I realized like we can't keep waiting around for people like Chuck Schumer to save us. They don't have a new media, like a social media team. They're not interested in it. They don't care. They don't get it. They're a generation behind. They do not get it. Donald Trump lives and breathes this shit. But he's gone, right? So Orange Man Bad is like a cathartic circle jerk for people who already agree with us. It's not a vision to vote for. And even though Orange Man Bad polls pretty well, the moment he kicks the bucket is the worst day in the life of the Republican Party. The next day is the worst day in the life of the Democratic Party, because we have nothing. So we need to build that vision now and lay that groundwork now for the midterms and then also for 2028. And just start building, like, literally the thing I've been comparing this to in my head a lot lately, as I've been thinking over, is fandom. There is no liberal fandom. You occasionally get small groups like the Liberal Action Network or like Digital Ground Game or Project Liberal that are going to be like, liberalism is awesome. And they post these like very masculine coded, like random compilations of pictures of founding fathers or like presidents or something. But it's like, it's assuming you know what they're talking about, which is very intellectual and circle jerky. And it has masculine posture. It doesn't have the sauce. It does not have the riz. So we're going to start doing this like on policies, build some concrete talking points. Because while the far right has a whole like vision, ethereal, like you'll have a family and a wife and you'll be big and strong and manly, because a lot of them are kind of gay. The far left does this too, right? They say free Palestine, fuck AIPAC, Medicare for all. They have like this super polished, like, you know, no war but class war. The left starts at anti-capitalism, fuck capitalism, like this toolbox of small, succinct, clear positions that paints a picture of a broader kind of theme and idea. So what we're going to do today, and then we're also going to look at a bunch of candidates and see what fits the best, what has like a riz. We need our characters. Like, we don't have our Bernie Sanders and our AOC. And I think AOC, frankly, would be on the side of like better things. I think AOC is a good faith progressive, and I think she's realizing with horror, she's in kind of like the last girl in a horror movie, where like she's in a movement thinking is for good things, and it's slowly becoming like actually just a room of like angry white men, like grievance politics. So we're gonna try and fix that and step back from that, right? Something that, like, you know, a lot of young people, they think they want to be on the side of good things, on the side of the left, and what they're being told is a vision fed to them by like the DSA, but really like the inner groups of the DSA, which are just kind of like angry Marxists, and they just like don't care about social issues, and it's very dark. Like, to be on the side of like the left or the side of like good things, we need to paint a different vision. We need an alternative. There is one group, Third Way, which is an org that tries to be like, by the numbers, by the math, actually, if we ran more moderate candidates, we'd win a broader power base. And they may even stand for some good things if you like really dig into their blog. Like, they're for LGBT rights, they're for a bunch of other things, like, you know, anti-poverty. But like, they suck ass at it, because what Third Way comes off as every single time is they're like, actually, we should have fewer good things, as opposed to painting a picture of what they are as the carrier of good things. So we're going to basically pretend we are going to become the messaging arm of the Democratic Party in spite of them because they suck at it. It's a room of like Gen Xers who don't know what they're doing and they're cringe and they're not going to figure it out. Meanwhile, the DSA is printing like a bunch of college kids with media degrees and white anger. And they just keep making banger posters and spreading banger propaganda all over the place. We can compete because we have better substance. We just need the style. So we're going to be like that messaging arm for them and that like propaganda thing. Yeah, they don't have the sauce. So like we are going to start figuring that out because like the right wing understands this. And the far left understands this. We as people on social media, just being online, we're not neutral observers hating on the Democratic Party as a separate thing. It's our job to fill that fandom communication role. And we just kind of leave them out to dry every time while they get shit on. So yeah. Like Third Way does not know what it's doing. And like I want them to hire me. So there's this site called arena.run. And this is a really cool site, okay? If you want to run for Democratic office, this is the site to go to. They're like, hey, do you want to run for office and you know what you're doing? And they just have like endless little like articles, tools, trainings of like, no, we want you to like, we need more people. And like the Democratic Party in general is completely starved of people. Like we don't have political operatives. We don't have enough candidates. And they're like, yeah, we could just like tell you and compile things. And this really cool thing they've done. So like, oh, this is for candidates, not for us. Oops, they misspelled catalog there because they typed too fast. Is they have this whole like toolbox. I think it's just like arena.run/toolbox. Yeah, it is. Of like literally all these kinds of things. And they link to, by the way, when people hate on Ken Martin for the DNC autopsy, Ken Martin did release like also a much better document as well that he kept talking about and no one looked at called the DNC Playbook. It's very dry, but it's like ways to like simplify and streamline like operational pipelines for campaigns. So like it is helpful. There's a section at the end. There's like a PowerPoint submitted and like attached to the PDF by someone who worked on the Mamdani campaign and like how they did social media messaging, which is really cool. Stuff like that. Oh yeah. So this is, I'll open the chat and like, I'm going to have a bunch of stuff. Thank you for subscribing. Hello YouTube chat. So this is just arena.run/toolbox. It's like a really cool site in general. Not all this is for us, but we're going to pretend, right? Because we are now, play pretend with me, the messaging arm of the DNC. And we're going to start finding like ways we can actually tip races and win. In the same way that like far lefties online are picking one race at a time, running some incredibly unviable candidate in a swing state. And we're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're throwing. And even when we're complaining about their candidate, we're still playing on their terms and we don't have a good candidate there. What we need to do is start finding and building up our people and have good races that are actually winnable. And small scale, we can actually win them. Because like, we care about that. Yeah, so we're going to see if we can message that falling down the populist pipeline. We don't need to lie about what we believe. I refuse to lie about what I believe. I refuse to like, I believe in anything bad. I actually care about including all people and good outcomes. So we start with the nerd shit of what is actually the right answer. And then we just have to message around that. In a way that's just effective. And treat this like any marketing campaign, right? And I want to read more books too about like marketing, social media campaigns for brands and companies and that kind of vibe. But some of these tools, because we're play pretend we're the messaging now, are useful for us, which is really, really cool. There's something called like the Unstoppable Voters Guide. I don't know, different groups submit stuff to them. So I don't know, this will be useful. I'm going to skim this real quick. But I've been like poking through and I'm like, let's just play pretend. Your cultural terrain. Okay. Yeah, this sounds very big. Board. Moving on. This one, campaign plan. Some of these I like opened up. Like a brand voice and messaging guide. This is like the campaign plan template, right? So this is like your whole thing of like, hey, you're gonna go through like if you're a candidate, super useful stuff. Super useful stuff. One thing I've learned as I've grown up, I've always been a nerd and I've worked really hard on stuff. And odds are if you're watching the stream, you are too. And you will find that like, we think we have to be super clever and work super hard and figure stuff out. And one thing I've found is that, in fact, a lot of paths to success, like if you want to start a business, like legally I've started a small business, I'm technically a sole proprietorship. It's super useful, actually, to like learn how these things work. And you will find, because society wants these things, they're not in fact meant to be super high skill floor things. If you want to start a small business, it is super easy. And there are like so many resources aimed at like the average person to be able to do it. And the same thing too, if you want to run for office, like there are tools here. It's way easier than you think, actually. Because there's a lot of like, frankly, just average people who want to do things that can be of benefit to society or their communities, like economically or socially. And so like we've catered to them a lot. The world isn't in fact built for like a normal person. And it's like super easy. Even little things, I don't know. Like I'm in a monogamous relationship, you know, I have a partner. And oh my God, even the little things like chores or like making a bed makes so much more sense when you realize, oh, our society is kind of built from the ground up for like a pair of people. Yeah, so like, okay, there's stuff on fundraising, there's all these little things. This is the kind of thing I want to get into, like core message, okay? What will we consistently communicate to voters about who the candidate is, why they are running, and why we should support them now? A core message frame is a distilled narrative your campaign consistently amplifies via all the communications channels at your disposal. It should be at the core of the story you are telling online, in speeches, in the press, and at voter stores. Campaigns are all about building and scaling relationships with voters to build trust. So it's essential that the organization you are building is aligned around your message and empowered to deliver it on the candidate's behalf. As you develop the core message of your campaign, the greatest challenge will likely be synthesizing it into one paragraph that quickly communicates who the candidate is, what they are about, and why a voter should support them. In a noisy digital world, this is more important than ever. Too often, campaigns lose their audiences because the messages are generic, vague, and disconnected. Other times, they lean too heavily on the candidate's resume or specific policy prescriptions and lack focus, an emotional hook, and a narrative. A strong core message is crisp, clear, and concise, anchored in values and personal story, authentic to the candidate and the candidate's vision, resonant with the experience and moral foundations of the voters you wish to serve, easy to remember and repeat. You will test and refine the core message frame over the course of the campaign, but take time to articulate it in 5 to 7 sentences in your plan. Note, it may be easier to construct your core message after doing some values mapping. There is room for that in the next session of this planning template, okay? We're going to go through this. We're not going to decide this right now. We're going to look at some other stuff. Because also when it comes to, like the issues we should talk about and what we should talk about, right? You see a lot of content creators online, liberals and leftists and progressives in between, who are like, we should just say, like, you know, criticize things this administration does. And they pick random things to talk about. And not all things are created equal. And not all things move people the most. And you have people who, you know, like the reflecting pool. I think as a symbol, the destruction of the reflecting pool really breaks my heart and is like one of the most powerful symbols. But not everyone cares about that. The fact that like, oh, they're gilding the White House, that's a bad thing. That's a Trump bad thing. Is that the highest priority thing we should be talking about? And you start to realize, like, wait a minute. And like, there's a lot of campaign ads, right? And there's a lot of messages that people spread and talk about. Which ones do they pick and why? Why is it the day after any embarrassing, indefensible Trump scandal that makes him look bad, the next day all of their influencers are talking about trans people in sports? And you start to realize maybe some people have scientifically already looked into this. That maybe there are like measured, tested, studied rankings of things like talking points and issues that voters tend to care about more than others, or tend to be more persuasive than others. And maybe instead of just picking random shit out of a hat, or being like, oh, we need to focus on like Free Palestine because that's what my friends talk about, maybe there's a method to the madness. And maybe we could be much fucking smarter and pivot our message far away from what Twitter wants to talk about. It is something that would be far more effective if we were to start talking about it, okay? So that's getting ahead of us a little bit. That's what we're going to do. Your core message should be anchored at the intersection of your values, your experience, and the values and experiences of your voters. It might be easiest to write the section before your core message. It's important to name those values so that your team is well equipped to amplify them with constituents. In this section, be sure to answer the following questions. What values are core to the candidate's vision and also reflect the core values of the voters in your district? Remember, values are different from issues. Values are the important principles that guide the decisions you make in life. Values unite people. Issues are topics on which you must have a position and choose a side. Issues divide people. This is a simple distinction, but it's an important one. Think back to the candidate's story of self and the choices highlighted in their narrative. What values guided their choices? What values does your candidate want to instill in the next generation? What values will guide their decisions as a policymaker and public servant? How did their experience shape their values? What's important to the voters in your district? how does the experience of voters in your district shape their values? And one really embarrassing thing is, oh, I know like a lot of the lefties, like Hasan fans and stuff, are campaigning for like the one lefty running in a Florida district that has already been gerrymandered and skews red, okay? And the district is held narrowly by an incumbent, like a kind of boring moderate blue dog. So he's already won. I think he's won for more than one term. And he's sitting in a seat that's like unfair and like statistically meant to go to a Republican. So you're not going to get like a Mamdani. Like, they don't like that kind of person there. And so Hasan fans have been trying to like phone bank and throw big money at this one progressive in that district. And first of all, like, that makes it seems like an ideological, wow, we're getting a progressive in office. But like, thank you for the gift. Thank you for the 10 jewels of the clay figure bowing down. That's cool. Oh, hiding. Cool. What that does, in effect, is that really an efficient use of money and influence for change? And also, I saw one thing on Twitter where someone apparently in that effort like called someone and tried talking to them about Israel and Palestine, and then the voter said like, actually, fuck you, I'm supporting the moderate more now, and then hung up on them. Like, not everyone agrees with you, right? And don't pick the things that you agree on. I want Palestinians to be safe and happy. Like, I am not, like, fuck Netanyahu. Fuck Netanyahu should be in a prison cell, right? Like, you catch more flies with honey. I don't know. You got to meet people where they're at and talk about things I actually like and agree with you on. And also, we should not be opening the door to anti-Semitism. Like, and that could be a slippery slope real quick. So, get back into this. Let's see. Here's a really, really, really useful thing. The cast of characters. In the story we are telling voters, who is our candidate? How will we characterize our candidate? How will our opponents characterize our candidate, right? So those are the things like, know your audience. Why are you talking to a red-leaning district about why Israel is bad? Like, why are you talking to like Jewish people in a red district about how much you hate Israel? They're gonna run away from you. Every English class you've ever been in, when you had to write an essay, your teacher has said at the start of it, step 1, know your audience. And I feel like I'm one of maybe like 1 in 30 people who actually listened to that and didn't just say and then write whatever I wanted anyway. And I feel like I'm going insane every time I look at Twitter because no one else seems to care. So this is a message box, and this is one thing we're definitely going to do. Okay, us on them on us, them on them. And we should frankly do 2 of these. We should do one of us contrasted to Republicans and one of us contrasted to the DSA. And with Republicans, we're talking to moderate voters, like moderate independents, of hey, here's what you care about. Here's why we are better to help you than they are. And then with the one against the DSA, we can assume there is, like, for most average people, who's going to be like a progressive, kind of stock them, but not really know it, who's going to think, oh, I should go to the DSA, and not know why that's not the optimal choice. We have to be like, hey, coming from that place of shared leftward, progressive, inclusive values, here's why that's a bad idea and we're a good idea, right? And so that's a really, really, really big thing we got to do. Then we have target audiences. Who are our key supporters? Who are the audiences we need to persuade? Who are the audiences we need to turn out? Voter engagement universes. Okay, cool. So this is like for reaching different groups of people. It's more district specific. We don't really have that information. Okay, I think it's organizing. So the thing I really, really, really want to do is first let's look at the issues and see where we have the most, the strongest stuff. So when I said earlier, there's an org that looks into this and studies which messages are effective. It's one I also found through arena.run. And I got free access to the whole database for a bit, but whatever. But I mean, there's a publicly available like retrospective of like their data and their research. So let's look at this, okay? You can see like what happened in the swing. This was after the 2024 election. They're kind of round up. And there's some really useful stuff in this. So this is the trends over time by race, how they identify liberal, moderate, conservative from 2016 onward. And you can see how those groups kind of fell. Yeah. So white people kind of stayed the same. Black people swung a little bit more to the right. Hispanic moderates completely hemorrhaged out of the Democratic Party and went to the right. A lot of that's bouncing back now because ICE is awful. ICE is awful. We all know that, right? But a lot of them fell for it at the time because Hispanic families tend to be very familial, like family values, very Catholic, very much centered around the idea of like, hard work, get a job, build yourself up. There's some patriarchy in there and some traditional gender roles, some homophobia and transphobia. Democrats were not really speaking to them or offering them anything as well. One critique I saw leveraged by Kamala Harris's person in charge of like their media infrastructure after the fact is like, yeah, there are Hispanic only like radio channels and stuff. Like radio stations. If you're like driving the car or whatever, or if you're like at a work site or something and you just have a radio or like you just whatever you're doing. And you made your like podcasts and stuff. There are like Spanish radio stations. And guess what ideologies are on those shows, and guess which ideologies aren't. That is an uncontested, conservative-leaning market that's reaching a lot of real people that we just forgot about entirely, and that's embarrassing. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, so we're really trying to like fill this in. That's the kind of thing. Like, there's been no outreach, no communication to meet people with their values, and then also there's this big trend as well that I think a lot of very online white people, progressive, completely look over. Is that if you and your family did go through the absolute hell gauntlet that is a legal immigration process into the US, it feels like you earned it. Like, that's goddamn hard and it takes a very long time. And you'd be kind of a little tilted and pissed at to be like, oh, but like these people who like didn't do any of that work, they're valid too, and this is about them. It feels like they felt kind of like screwed over and not appreciated. So that's like a big thing as well. Some of the most staunchly like pro tough on borders, pro like immigration control kind of thing are like Hispanic moderates and conservatives who are like, I earned this and you didn't, and that's not fair. And then for Asian voters as well, moderates also had kind of a dip. Thank you, 55 for the 199. Thank you so much. Politically disengaged voters have become much more Republican. There was this traditional wisdom in the 2000s, especially, and through the 2010s, that like young people and like the average person is obviously pretty progressive, like obviously want more good things, but just like didn't really care and stayed home because it wasn't cool to vote. So the main thought process, especially among younger generations, is to have like, we just need cool get out the vote stuff. We need to make it cool to go out and vote. Go vote. And then like the most effective thing you could do was go to a college campus and then register people to vote. Because if you did, it was just basically like, those are just Democrat votes in the bag. That's not the case anymore. If more people turned out in 2024, so it's not that people stayed home because they didn't care and felt like depressed about Palestine. If they showed up, they would have voted Republican. That's a big problem. I got a Lunchable. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take bites. I'm hungry. I have not eaten all day. 22 voters. Yeah, what actually happened, if everyone voted, it would have skewed like 3 points more to Trump. You have an age split by race and gender. Algorithmically, we get divided along gender lines a lot. And I feel like the Harris campaign did a lot to appeal to young women and did not do a lot to appeal to men. I feel like Tim Walz as VP was a huge mistake because they thought he's a football coach, he'll appeal to guys. And he was kind of too much of a softie and didn't really meet them where they're at. And that's the appeal. That is one appeal. I just not making any endorsement specifically for president. Someone like Gavin Newsom can kind of appeal to like young men a lot more. Frankly, I think Wes Moore could do the same. I think Wes Moore is a great pick, at least for VP. But yeah, huge gender difference. So we need to make a message that's not super girly, but also not this super masculine thing. So you just do the super masculine thing, you're losing out against an alt-right pipeline that is way bigger and stronger than you. You just are. And they're not interested and they have a more masculine message. What you're doing then is you're appealing only to like a minority of white men, and you are ignoring the racially and gender diverse coalition that is the Democratic Party. If you want to build a successful fandom, you need numbers. So we need a universal message that can appeal across demographics. This is like the nerdiest thing I've ever talked about. It's approval of Joe Biden. We want to distance from the Biden administration. You're not going to get a lot of of favorability by like, look at all the stuff Joe Biden did. Okay, that's also not a thing to talk about. Like arguing about the past, it's screwed. And just having been like ridden the waves of social media for many years of my life, since like middle school, turning something like this around, I don't think is going to happen. If there's a headwind, I'm not going to fight a headwind, which is like in a plane, is there's like wind blowing right against you as like in the direction you're trying to fly. It'll stop you and slow you down so you can't fly as much. So it's like some drag, right? Let's stop fighting the drag. Let's not like, to me, someone like Abdul El-Sayed is currently the biggest uphill battle we would face as a Democrat we could advocate for. That's what leftists really wanted. That's what they got. I think on policy, he's a good candidate. The vibes-wise, he has a lot of work to do to get rid of a lot of that drag on him. I'm not going to waste all of my time and energy and money trying to make that heavy lift for him, right? That's a lot of headwind and a lot of reputation to fight in spite of. I want to back candidates we can win because of, and I think that'll do more to uplift a positive brand. So we're going to find people who are not questionable, who are not controversial, who are not already unliked, and try to like overcome that, okay? That's poison. I think we can do more by finding people no one says anything about and just speed run building positive reputations, okay? No headwind, and we'll just create a tiny tailwind, and that'll be much more efficient. I know that sounds weird. That's a bit more opinion-based, but like, I think that especially with knowing how like social media algorithms work and how trends work, and it's kind of this like rolling avalanche, it snowballs. Let's not focus on damaged goods as much as like the things we can win, and try to build the optimism for a blue wave, and then hope that carries everyone else. Like if you were to pick someone like running for Democratic office in Georgia, because Jon Ossoff is so cool, that other person is going to do really well. Like they're getting like a starting bonus. And Republicans do this, by the way. They've tied their brand to the concept of America, to the concept of family, and to the concept of God. And so a lot of people, you don't need to know anything about a Republican, but like that is what they inherit as like their heuristic, their mental image, their starting point, as like a shortcut. When we say vote blue no matter who, we assume blue is good because blue means something. Like it just does. That's why we say it. Like, you know, like if Hitler was a kid, obviously not, but blue, like, oh, what is blue? Like it's a shortcut, it's a heuristic for some good policies or good things, typically including people, being fair, being nice, being kind. Kind, though, is kind of a weak brand thing because in a lot of elections, for moderate and independent voters, they see like, okay, obviously the Democrat wants to do the nice thing, but like if real stakes, if we wanted like just a strong country and a good economy, like the Republicans are a little more ruthless, but it's like, it's just better. And that's why like they get this, part of that heuristic is Republicans are seen as better on things like crime, immigration, law, order, safety, and the economy, which is not true. We need to make our brand associated with more of the things that are performing best. So this is an interesting thing. They showed people two issues and said which one is more important. And you can see the strength by which cost of living is more important than the other thing. But when it's in the lower of these, it's more split. In the higher of these, it's more like all on the same page. Like way more people, the cost of living and inflation is more important than student debt. Now on social media, you'll notice in election cycles, for the past few election cycles, especially like the Bernie types and like the progressives, say we need to eliminate student debt, like free college. That was their big issue. Of course, that's because they are all themselves in college and have student debt. Most Americans don't. And of the people who do, they can kind of pay their student debt. But way more people, everyone said the cost of living was more important, right? 94%. So it's not to say this isn't important, but like if you had to choose between one of these two issues, they choose cost of living. And you can see in this data, cost of living kind of beat out everything. There's also an important difference. When you say the economy, it feels very general and includes things like stocks and like a global is very impersonal, versus cost of living is very personal. Cost of living is just the grocery store. The Joe Biden administration messed up when they're like, oh, but the economy is doing great. They're stepping back and looking at a macro picture, looking at stock values. But like the economy is doing great. To most people, they're thinking of like going to the grocery store and like the cost of food. Very different picture, very different story. Oh, this is something, yeah. Being patriotic. When I branded this channel, you can see it like in my old PFP, like blue and red. My website very blue and red. Patriotism symbols everywhere. That's kind of the meme. Because I thought maybe like if we co-opted the image of being patriotic, that would move the needle a lot. Turns out, actually, when I looked at this data, no one cares about that. No one cares about, like, people don't really care about Trump's corruption in terms of, like, spending projects on, like, the White House, like demolishing the East Wing, doing a UFC fight on the lawn, gilding everything. That's the kind of thing we make lots of, like, news articles about and talk about a lot. Like, oh, it's embarrassing, look to the White House. Most people don't actually care that much. Being patriotic, like, oh, this is, you know, anti-American, this is anti-patriotic, actually ranks pretty low. That's the thing as well. That's a perfectly valid hypothesis. I would have thought the same thing. Like, yeah, we need to co-opt that, like, patriotism. However, not very popular. And in fact, we can see this actually in the Texas Senate race. James Tallarico codes himself as super conservative friendly, like culturally, and super Christian. His opponent, Ken Paxton, his wife divorced him on biblical grounds for cheating, and Ken Paxton spent this 4th of July, the 250th anniversary of the US, on a trip, like a rich vacation into England, like in the UK, with his mistress on the 4th of July. How anti-patriotic could you get, right? If people actually cared about patriotism, that's like a comical cartoon villain level of like, oh, you've betrayed your core values. And people should respond to that, but they really don't. Because a lot of people will signal like, oh, I really care about Christianity, I really care about patriotism. These are kind of virtue signals, and they don't actually move the needle that much. When it comes down to it, they actually vote for something else. And it turns out, obviously, it's like the cost of living. People are selfish. People like material things. Here we go. This is like the best chart in this whole thing. So when we're talking about what our message should be and what kinds of things we should talk about, this is really, really, really it. This is from 2024. Obviously, after 2 years of Republicans governing, some of the thoughts on who's actually helping with this have changed significantly. Take a second for you while I chew my Lunchable. Okay, so now, from left to right, the further right it is on this chart, the more important it is to voters, the more they care about it. The more up it is on the chart, the more people trust Democrats for it. And the further down on the chart, the more they trust Republicans for it. So let's look at some mistakes the Democratic Party has made historically. We talked about student debt a lot. Progressives insisted we could win an election if we just talked about eliminating student debt. In fact, Joe Biden tried several times to eliminate student debt in different ways that were like struck down by the court. So very limited windows, you couldn't get a lot done. But like, you know, he did actually try running on that and doing that. Did people like Joe Biden? Did people support him like through all of that? Did people support him afterwards? It turns out they didn't really care. It's not gain a lot of trust and loyalty. It didn't actually sway a lot of people. Like in a general conversation with like average people, if you open like, hey guys, you should vote Democrats because we're gonna like deal with student debt. You have like some middle class people who'd be like, that's awesome. But like that's not gonna, no one, like broadly, no one cares. Like that's what, 20%? AI, cringe. The war in Ukraine should be more important. I think the war in Ukraine and the war in the Middle East, like this would be Gaza, right? This would be like Free Palestine against Israel. Both of these wars, like foreign policy, this is why liberals keep saying like people don't care about foreign policy, even though on Twitter you see it everywhere. They're kind of become broader virtue signals, but like not people, first of all, trust Republicans more in anything foreign policy and war related. That's the reputation they built. And second of all, not many people care about that. That's not very relevant to them. So you see war and immigration, war in the Middle East, international trade, very, very, very bad. I'm sure gas prices at this point is way higher. That's more personal. And when gas prices aren't super high and not a problem, people don't really care. If it's cheap enough that you can afford it, you don't mind it. Abortion. We saw lots of even moderate Democrats run on abortion, protecting abortion rights. Here's the thing. A lot of people are single issue voters against abortion. I think it's good to stand on abortion. It's about a 60-40 issue. People trust us on it, right? That's what it's so solidly blue. LGBTQ issues, easy dunk, easy dunk. You do not need to worry about convincing people that Democrats are better on LGBT rights. They already know, okay? If they care about that issue, they're with us. Healthcare is our biggest issue. This is the thing we should be talking about. This is the thing we have been talking about. And now, especially as Mamdani moves the needle so much on it, cost of living, which is better than the economy, because cost of living is the economy, but just how it affects you as a basic consumer, right? Cost of living is really, really, really important. Affordability, that's what this is rebranded as. Super, super, super important. These are the two things. And for years, Republicans have had this edge on being more trusted on like inflation in the economy. This is the thing we can steal from them right now. And this is the thing we are stealing from them right now, because they've had full control of the government and they objectively made it worse at the grocery store and at the gas station, which is going to reach more people than your millionth Orange Man bad video ever, ever, ever can. So here we have, okay, like Medicare, mental health, healthcare. And that's why also saying, hey, let's expand healthcare is better than saying Medicare for all, because healthcare is more general. Some people like their private healthcare. Medicare is like too specific and too niche. You say before Medicare expansion, that works. But like, we need affordable healthcare, kind of lets you fill in the blanks on what you think that means, and works the best. We're gonna like reduce poverty, right? And fight poverty as well. Not even like, oh, there's like, it's unfair. There's like some people make more money than others. It turns out a lot of people don't care if other people are rich as long as they themselves are not poor. It's like, I know a lot of leftists will be like basically want to tax the rich as a way to punish the rich. That's their top priority. That is far less popular than we're going to fight poverty. Like, so you can tax the rich if it helps working people have more opportunity and be less poor. But taxing the rich just to punish them? Like, would you rather tax the rich but poor people stay poor? Or not tax the rich but poor people get less poor? Everyone's going to choose the latter. Like, for most people, like, you know, it's just any means to the end. I don't care. By any means necessary, tax whoever, wherever you want. Like, just, I don't care about the means. I care about the answer of fight poverty is stronger than tax the rich just to punish and spite them. This is really, really good. Okay, this is the top testing ads on both sides. Number one, acknowledging voters feeling squeezed by rising costs showed how Harris would improve voters' economic lives. 2, show that she has real plans that she would follow through on as president, versus how Trump was more focused on helping wealthy elites. And this is that whole thing, the same angle as like, she's for they, them, he's for you, is the thing of, it's not, people don't, like, it's not that everyone is transphobic or like NB phobic. It's people don't like if it feels like you're catering to someone else while neglecting themselves personally on affordability stuff. It's not that everyone hates the rich. It's that people hate that like they themselves are economically struggling while he's focused on helping the rich. They didn't like Kamala Harris because they felt while you were focused on, like while you're struggling, she's focused on helping LGBT people. Which she didn't say, but like that's the reputation. So people care about themselves first. Use personal stories to connect policy to the impact on voters' lives, especially on costs, healthcare, abortion. Personal stories are super, super useful. People don't like data and stats, actually. The human brain is not a computer. It's not meant to do that. How we experience the world, how we've always ever experienced the world, is like a story. I know this from a lot of design work, a lot of private design work, a lot of pitching projects to get approved to like funders, is you don't lead with data, you lead with a story. You go through your day and you experience it in chronological order. That's how you make sense of events, through a personal, subjective, selfish lens as one person, like as a camera, like as a POV. Yeah, so storytelling as an example. So instead of saying like, oh, like, you know, 69% of people struggle to afford groceries, just have someone talk about, someone relatable, talking about, yeah, I used to, you know, I've been working hard for all these years. I go to the grocery store and the prices keep going up and I don't know how I'm going to feed my family. That will hit way, 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 way better. Like, we have to get past the neoliberal numbers circle jerk. There was a lot of ticket splitting, and many down ballot Democrats overperformed the top of the ticket. So people didn't have a problem with Democrats overall. They just didn't like Kamala Harris specifically, or like Trump more specifically. And both sides did this. That's interesting. Oh, maybe not both sides. Sorry. No, this is Gallego, who's in Arizona, Nevada? Yeah, Arizona, yeah. Ruben Gallego knows what it means to protect our country and our flag. He's a Marine. Ruben knows that Arizona families deserve to feel safe. He delivered critical funding for our law enforcement community, and he knows that to secure our border, we need more agents and better technology. That's why the Arizona Police Association supports Ruben. He'll work with anyone in Congress to deliver for Arizona and keep our family safe and secure. Now, understand, Sunbelt, okay? South. It's okay to talk about the border when you're by the border and that's actually relevant. All of the ICE raids on Minnesota are just clearly political targeted attacks. There's no like immigration crisis in Minnesota. Like, what are the Canadians coming? Please, it's just racism. But you know, understand the game. Understand that. People have given Mary Peltola a lot of shit for like not wanting to be endorsed by Kamala Harris. That's okay. Mary Peltola is running for Senate in Red Alaska. I've had a paper route at 13, so I've been working literally for 60 years. And I've taught school all my life. We both paid in and earned our Social Security. We depend on it to get by. But Kari Lake would risk our benefits just to give tax breaks to the billionaires, paying for her campaign. She wants to yank it out from under us. Kari Lake couldn't care less about Arizona families. She only cares about herself and her own power. So we have to think in those charts of message. What does Gallego have there? Notice how he says he wants to, positive ad, keep our family safe and secure. And then about his opponent, she only cares about herself and her own power. She couldn't care less about Arizona families. So families, that's like a value. And these are the kinds of things we need. Which is more important right now? This is the hugest failure of the Democratic Party to read the room. Preserving America's institutions, bad. Delivering change, good. How we need to position ourselves is not as we're going to keep things the same or return to normalcy or return to status quo. The argument we need to make, especially compared to a progressive insurgency that is not interested in actually winning power, is we can more efficiently, effectively, and stably actually deliver the change that we both want. If you're looking for a contrast point to the DSA types, it's they would rather fail on a virtue signal vote for Medicare for all specifically than actually deliver affordable healthcare. That is like the winning angle, okay? It's not just saying DSA bad, DSA bad, DSA bad. It's like, oh, I don't care. I'll still vote DSA because what are you doing for me? Okay? We are the more effective deliverers of the change we all want. Things are going bad. True. Things are going bad. That's how, yeah, most people feel. People think that, okay. Yeah. Boring. Oh, this is interesting. Only Harris showed she had the ability to make my life better. Only Trump showed he had the ability to make my life better. Both, neither. Overall, more people thought that Trump had showed them he could make their lives better. Let's see. A lot of this is like very electorally specific. Which platform do they use to get news? Okay. People are considering politics less and less important to their identity. People are using TikTok a lot, or did. That's probably falling now. But we want to use different channels. This is support for Trump administration policies. So this is like more opposition on the left, more support on the right. So here are these also more effective angles. Yeah, Peltola, yeah, like Peltola knows the game. She's not endorsing everything the Democratic Party does. But so these are on the left. These are our strengths, right? These are the things that Trump did that most people hate. High income tax extension, Social Security and Medicare cut, repeal the ACA. You have tariffs, like things people like Trump on, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, military border deployment, require voter ID / proof of citizenship to vote, cartel terrorist designation. Don't argue with people about this shit. Bring up this shit. Start a conversation about this shit on the left, okay? This is what makes an impact. Less than 30%, like less than 40% support for those policies. Here we go. Huge. So this is right after the election. So it's, let's zoom out a little bit. I'm sorry. So this is very 2024, like late 2024, early 2025. Yeah. January 22nd to 30th. This was kind of like that start of it. What moved the needle the most? Cutting Medicare and Social Security. Letting Elon Musk slash budget. Putting privacy at risk. So like hurting Americans is more important than putting privacy at risk. Privacy is very kind of ethereal. People don't really care about that. Slashing ACA / Medicaid, leading to worse care and higher costs. So Medicare, is better than Medicaid. Social Security is the number one thing. I'm very weird in the online space because I talk about Social Security a lot. This is why. Old people get Social Security. Old people vote. Also, compared to most taxes, Social Security is the most intuitive and well-liked. Social Security is something you pay into and then you get out of. So it feels like you earned it. Like that's like basically a representation of your American dream. That you worked hard and put all that in, and then you get out like a social safety net at the end. People like that. It feels like a reward. Fucking with Social Security feels real, real, real bad. And not just for old people. Currently, by 2032, if Republicans continue to do nothing, unless we do something, Social Security payouts will cut by like 25%. And already in this economy, it's not enough money to get by. It's like $1,500 a month. And so a lot of old people are going to have to choose between food, medicine, and shelter. They can't afford all three in like, especially not in 6 years with $1,500 a month. That's what it'll go. It go from like 2,000 to 1,500. And when they can't choose, what will they pick and what will they not do? They'll not fill their meds. So their health will get worse. They'll go kind of crazy. They'll not eat, so their health will decline. They may be homeless and be out on the streets. Or they may have to move in with their kids, their families, to try and support them. And already, you know, as like an adult, right, working families can hardly get by as it is. And now they're going to have to like feed their old mom and dad too. It's basically going to be like a boomer side. If like the old people can't afford to pay and they're going to fall down, it's going to collapse onto everyone else and really, really hurt them. Like we can't afford to like have to carry old people. Like we can barely afford to get by ourselves. All of like the millennial children who are, you know, don't have the same fortune as like boomers can't get by. Can't do it. They can't do it on our own, especially not then we have to take care of the boomers also. So I think like but you know, we have to preserve Social Security by 2032. Feels very dry. I think like we need to stop the impending boomer side. Might play a little bit better on social media for young people. Giving huge tax breaks to the ultra rich. No, here's the thing. A lot of far-left populists think that populism is the way to go. It's a very clear message, right? You have an enemy and you're like, we need to, you know, fight the rich. And that's what it's about economically. What they don't realize is their talking points always tend to pull in the middle of the pack. It's like it's not the S tier, it's like the A tier, like A to B tier. And it's because of stuff like this. And it's the same reason as like the Kamala is for they, them, Trump is for you kind of thing that hits. Yeah, people would like to tax the rich as sort of a cathartic thing, like fuck you. But to most people on average, if you have to choose between spiting the rich and helping the poor, it's more important that you help the poor. Because they're more likely to be poor and helped personally. If someone feels they can afford to get by, they don't mind if someone else is rich too. A lot of them, you know, it'd be nice to knock them down a few pegs, but like knocking them down a few pegs is not the top priority. Making sure you yourself have money to get by is the higher priority. So that's the kind of thing. Populism kind of accidentally stumbles onto the right answer, but then they think it's this about like antagonizing the rich and like this big fight thing because it's flashy. They don't realize like that's not the part that's actually resonating. What that's actually resonating is protect the poor, not tax the rich, not attack the rich. It's defend the poor. And so you can just defend the poor without attacking the rich. And that way you open your doors to like maybe some rich people will fund your campaign. And it just feels less angry in general. It feels good. You don't feel like hateful inside. You know, okay, like tax the rich, but like I'm taxing the rich because I want to help people, not because I want to hurt the rich. Does that make sense? That's like the real critical divide. And that because I want to help people is remarkably likable across the political spectrum. And you could have people of all income tiers will like want to support you and all political leanings want to support you. Just, I want to help you. It just feels better. Even if you do still want to tax the rich, like, which I do, you know, it's good. But like, are you doing it for like the good reasons? Are you the like on team good guy and good stuff like this? It feels better. It's better. Just do that. Imposing tariffs. People don't know what tariffs are. Don't get caught in the weeds of this policy. People don't actually have opinions on tariffs. They have opinions on wanting to afford stuff, and they were told that tariffs will help them afford stuff. They were stupid and wrong and misled. This I think is maybe trending a little bit. The kind of, oh, it's like a one-party power grab, corruption, irresponsible kind of thing. That kind of appeals to libs, I found a lot. Like, he's reckless, he's out of control. It's not as important as the concrete, like, dead ass, above populism, above ideology, even. Of like, look, straight up, we're not gonna afford food. Put aside whatever political disagreements you have, like, this is just an objective problem that we need to do something about. Like, we need cheap medicine. Medicine's expensive. Like, no matter what your opinion, no matter what your feelings, you can't wiggle away from that, and it's too concrete. This kind of gray rocks any other political issue. Like, look, man, we just need to save Social Security. Healthcare is getting too expensive, and that's going to get worse. The price of food and housing is going to go up. That's like the S tier talking point. Tariffs, weird. Repealing laws that lower healthcare drug costs. Again, only neoliberal policy wonks give a fuck about specific laws and means, okay? They want the result. Figuring out how to get there is your job as a politician. Normal people don't care how the sausage gets made. They don't want to know. That's why it's a representative democracy. That's a job, and it's not their job. That's some nerd shit. Do that in a closed room, and then get back to them. They don't care. They don't care. Like, Medicare for all is a weak line, because, like, why do you care about that specific means? Do you even understand that? How many people saying Medicare for all is the only thing actually, like, know what that looks like? Why that implementation? Is that even necessarily the best implementation? Same thing to, like, I support End Citizens United, which, like, locks out all this PAC money from manipulating our elections, right? So we have free and fair elections again. Like, money can't be speech. That would include APAC, but a lot of people just say, like, I hate APAC, APAC bad, don't take APAC money. And what they don't realize is, even if, like, every Democrat just stopped taking APAC money, first of all, they give the money to their opponents, so, like, we'd be more likely to lose in more places. And second of all, even if we got rid of APAC entirely, like, that's not going to have the effect you think it does on foreign policy, on general electoral fairness, on general electoral outcomes. Like, it would kind of feel like learning Santa Claus isn't real. It would just be depressing. Like, you could get that. You could get Medicare for all. You could get End APAC. Systemically, that's not the complete solution to your problems you think it is. And you will feel incredibly fucking empty and depressed. And you realize you don't really know why you were fighting for what you're fighting for. You need these bigger systemic solutions. There's just more effective. And that's the thing, right? Like, I'm not disagreeing on the substance. Like, Netanyahu is a fucking war criminal. I don't want to support what he's doing. I want affordable healthcare, obviously. Medicare for all sounds awesome. But, like, that's one means. Don't get caught up on the means. Politically, you might just get into a snafu implementing that. Consequentially, is it the right one? And electorally, is that do people like that message the most? When you get into the details, people think you're a fucking nerd. And this is really cool. So swing voters, people who switch from one side to the other, and then infrequent voters, people who basically stay home. Those are two different groups of people. But do you actually need different messaging to, like, inspire someone off the couch versus inspire someone to switch sides? Apparently, they found out, no. That's pretty cool. Here's what people wanted. So towards the right is for swing voters. Towards up is towards people who stay home and don't really vote. They both want the same thing, and that's a pretty good trend. So higher wages, pay a fair share, that's taxing the rich. Higher wages is first, and then grocery prices. So, like, people want to afford stuff. Sure, tax the rich, but it's not about hurting the rich as much as I want to personally afford stuff. If taxing the rich is the way to do that, so be it. Fairness is good, that feels good, but, like, I want to get mine. I don't care about you as much. This is great. Oh boy, 1 month of Donald Trump removal and it was already starting to converge. Now his numbers are in the toilet. Good. Then there's a bunch of stuff about, like, AI in the future. I don't know why they focus on that so much. Boring, boring, boring. I don't care about AI. Okay, cool. Thank you, Blue Rose Research. What else do I have? Let me take a minute. Okay, let's see. Invoice and messaging template. Yeah, this is a separate thing we can do. And this might not be relevant to us. Excuse me. So this is like for your campaign. If you have like a campaign team and stuff like that, it's like, okay, what are the things you want to talk about? What things you're willing to outsource to your team to talk about for you on your behalf? That kind of thing. We might throw back to this once we pick some candidates. But having an emotional tone is really, really useful to this. For an example, I'd love an example. Aha, okay, so here we have some an example here. Okay. You have to pick some tone words, things like that. I don't super care about all of this, but that's okay. Do. So here we have these, also it's really good to have these big pillars. Any person who's campaigning, you'll notice they have a website, and even on their mailers and stuff, they'll typically have about 3 pillar ideas. And even in design, if I'm making an app or something, I do this too. Like I do research on who my target audience is, and then I do research on like what we want the project goals to be, which is a combination of what do the users want, and then also what do like the stakeholders want, people behind it. Sometimes you need to compromise a little bit. Ideally, you should follow what the viewers want, like what the users want. So luckily we have that. We have our data of what works. So the top 3 is not this populism. It's not free Palestine. The top 3 issues in order. Let me see if I got this off the top of my head. Number 1, Social Security. Protect Social Security. Save Social Security. Rail the fuck out of Republicans who are not right now. Number 2, cost of living in general, which is like food and housing at the grocery store. It's not big picture economy stuff. It's grocery prices, rent, and gas prices. Number 3, healthcare specifically. Healthcare is a big one. It's complicated. It's hard to navigate as well. I think part of it is like that just frustrating user experience of getting a doctor, getting healthcare. But affordable healthcare. So there's a similar through line with all 3 of those, which is affordability. But it's Social Security, daily cost of living, food and rent, and healthcare. Those are our big 3 topics. Other common ones you'll see some similar things as well. A lot of local Democrats like to run on education. I think it's nice because a lot of Democrats have, like, you know, if you have kids or families, you want them to go to a good school. Like any mom who's running around, you know, education is good. Yeah, people want more money and lower prices. Yeah. So education is a popular one. I see lots of local candidates run on, or state level candidates run on. Education is great. It's super important. It doesn't need to be a top priority anymore. Same with like green energy and climate. It's like, it's in there. Obviously, it's a good thing, but it's just we're struggling too much right now to like think that far. If you don't have a family and you already graduated, you're like, fuck school. I don't care about school. It doesn't affect me personally. Not as resonant. Also, I feel like it's more partisan. I love learning. I love school. I love my local library. A lot of people do not have a formative child relationship with their local library, and it shows. Yesterday, I realized, because I was like, oh, I don't drive. I'm disabled, but I was like, oh, I wish I could go to the library more. And I looked up my library, and I realized it has you can get like a digital library card, and you can access online like ebooks and audiobooks. And that's amazing. And I listened to Abundance all night and all day. I'm like halfway through it, which is great. Okay, if we're going to libmax, that's libmaxing. Okay, listen to Abundance, and Abundance is a lot of painting this picture of how like a lot of overregulation that has been especially abused by like bad actors, by like rich NIMBYs, like kind of conservatives in like, you know, fancy suburbs, will just complain and utilize every avenue, legislative and judicial, to like slow down implementing anything good and like overburden us with regulations. We can't get ahead, and we can't actually build anything affordable. And they like stifle us, so it becomes like a conservative thing. Ezra Klein himself has said this. The book does not do a good enough job at painting that positive vision of what the abundance future looks like. There's like a little introduction about it. It's like, you know, kind of a sci-fi, like eco-futurist, like fan fiction sort of thing. but that's kind of it. And the rest is just complaining about like different case studies of overregulation and under delivery that are kind of like rage bait. Like you get the point, and then it's just more chapters of that. So like book is, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. But yeah, like even the concept of a library, the idea that hey, for free you can just go and learn stuff and you get stuff. You can like get shows and movies. That's awesome. That's a thing we should be able to point to and be like, look, that's what it's all about. That's what we do. Be able to point to really good schools and say, look, like we just basically have factories putting out like brilliant scientists and presidents everywhere and astronauts, like astronauts. Remember this 2000s idea? Like there's a vibe and a feeling here. And we get back into our, this is something I really, really hate that was like taken from us in terms of this cultural shift. We used to aspire, growing up like the 90s and 2000s, we had this image of like the inevitable future. We were heading towards Star Trek. We were going to go to the stars. There was an excitement to be curious about one another, to learn about different groups of people, to work together. And like when social media first dropped, it was lit. We were all so excited about what social media could bring. We could come together and just like race ahead to the future, learn from each other, understand each other, respect each other, cooperate. And we can be astronauts, and we can do a million things, and you can grow up and be anything. Stay in school, like kindness and curiosity were these lightning rod powers you could yield. Like Bill Nye the Science Guy. We love that feeling, that positive feeling. And what is that feeling? When I say I'm a liberal, when I say I'm a Democrat, the cultural narrative that's seeped in is like the first thing you need to do is apologize for yourself. For being like weak and kind and soft and not really caring and not really doing anything and not liking these things. But no, that's not what it means. It's that progress by which we came from like monarchy and like, hey, people are equal actually. And anyone who tells you they're not, like, they're wrong. And that was like a revolutionary counterculture thing, right? The Enlightenment, like the feeling of like literally like turning a light on, like of like a torch in a dark room. And wow, we can learn and grow and like see each other and not just like be head empty and assume we're peasants. Like, holy shit, that's super cool. Yeah, and techno optimism it sank, but wait, it's not just techno optimism. We need this general optimism. People like Pete Buttigieg have tried to like and Buttigieg and Newsom have tried to revitalize this techno optimism by being like, wow, this AI, huh? And they're so out of step. I don't care about that. That feels like the wrong direction because so many people are scared of and hate that. Even with data centers, we're just like waffling back and forth about the exact nature of ecological impact by the numbers, but we've not addressed the feeling of fear, and no one has done anything to actually paint like, hey, outcome-wise, possibility-wise, is this good? Is this worth it? Does this create any opportunity? And that's the case for building something. If I support like building affordable houses, it's because I want more people living in the community, creating businesses, creating jobs for each other, and like sparking growth, and everyone gets more cool, good stuff. With data centers, like, we need to stop arguing about environmental impact and start talking about, hey, does this create more opportunity? Because if it is just the big, scary warehouse that takes everyone's jobs, I don't want that at all. If it is worth it and it does more, tell me, show me, justify that, make that case. No one's made the positive case for anything. So it doesn't need to be data centers. Like, it's just energy in general is great. Like, we should bring energy back into the conversation of like what we can do. Abundance is a great way of like, hey, if you just like deregulate housing and let some people fast track building a fuck ton of housing developments, the price of a house plummets. Then you can get houses. I'm talking about cost of living. We're going to make sure we can build a lot of houses within certain budget constraints within 3 years. Within 5 years. If we set those big ambitious goals and talk about them, like, hey, that works, like we're going to actually do it. We're going to make things cheaper. And you're going to be like, wow, I didn't know that could be cheaper. So yeah, this is mainly for like social media communication. I think we need to go past this like dark, depressing, edgy debate that like the DSA Types 1 is in. They want us depressed and angry and confrontational. We need to be positive. We need to be a fandom, and we need them to catch up because we have proven solutions we can point to. And we need like these feelings we're aiming towards, the positions and ideas and topics that get us there, and also concrete examples we can point to. And I think the concept of like your local library is an amazing example of that. The concept of a public school is so revolutionary. We don't talk about that enough. Hmm. You know what? Instead of going ahead and doing this, let's find some candidates and then steal their notes. If we find candidates we like, we can see how they do it. This is oath.vote. This is a website. Yeah, oath.vote. This is a website that uses some algorithm to figure out where your political donations have the most impact. So, like, you know, a swing race, right, where it's really tight, and giving them a few dollars can like really give them the resources to tip ahead, as opposed to throwing more money at Jon Ossoff. Please stop throwing more money at Jon Ossoff. His opponent's already dead. Jon Ossoff has this in the bag, okay? What are you paying Jon Ossoff more money to do? What is left for him to spend it on? What experts does he need to hire? What skills does he lack that you think he needs more money in order to acquire? All Jon Ossoff, I can imagine, has left to spend it on is like champagne on his victory night, okay? It's not a good use of your time and money. But if we look here, top candidates, okay? Here we can see all the swing races. I want to move this over to the left. They have an algorithm and they have like a score. This website really wants to be wide. And I want to make that less wide. Can I make this less wide? There you go. And I can even zoom in a little bit. There you go. So these candidates, right? It's their impact score. They have like an algorithm, they calculate it, and they can rank them. These are going to be like close races. Whoops. And you can see, yeah, this is a competitive toss-up seat that we could flip in Minnesota. Here's one in Texas. Here's one in Michigan. This guy has said some red flaggy racist shit. I don't like him. David Crowley. David Crowley is amazing. The Wisconsin governorship is so crucial to win against Republicans. That is not the opportunity to gamble a seat that we could lose to Republicans trying to get a super progressive in there. We just need a blue Wisconsin governor, and that means Wisconsin could get a blue trifecta and be a lock for really good, extraordinary things. Jeremiah Frederickson in Wisconsin. This leans R. It's a rural district of Wisconsin. That's one I've looked into. And you can see more and more and more. Jacob Martinez, one that's also come up in a lot of lists. So this is the kind of like thing you can look at. Okay, who should we support? And when we find any candidate, we're going to type them in. And if they don't get at least a 9, if there's a low impact, that's not going to make much of a difference. I don't want to support them, okay? I want to find races where whatever we talk about and promote can make a really, really, really big difference. We're going to think smart. We're not going to follow the popular thing. I am not arguing about like one of these races that's in the spotlight. Like Abdul El-Sayed, like it's not my job to fight an uphill battle rehabilitating Abdul El-Sayed's image. Okay, I have a small stream, but what I can do if I'm clever and post a lot on social media and then get you guys too as well, we do a little fundraising stream or two, and we bother other liberals too as well. There are some like little seats that we can absolutely flip. Now here's some other things. We can look at levels. State candidates are really, really big. Oh, there's like so there's this thing called the National Popular Vote Compact. I think that's what it's called. And it's basically this. So to win an election, you need 270 electoral college votes. Right? And each state pledges those votes kind of individually to like who wins their state, usually. It's a little different state by state, they have their own rules. But what that means is sometimes when a candidate can win the presidency, but they lose the popular vote, is you get someone that's not super democratic. And even presidential elections are run and managed at a state level, like a state by state level. And then they send their electors to DC, right? So you can get some problems where someone can, like Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, lost the presidency. Doesn't it feel like a problem? Like Donald Trump was not the person most people wanted. In general, if there's a red state that wants to, yeah, we need to claim our wins. Yeah, absolutely. In a red state, if it's corrupt and wants to overturn an election, and they have the power to choose their electors, they could just kind of rat fuck us. Like that's scary. And so I want to like actually democratize things. So what the National Popular Vote Compact does is like states promise to pledge all of their electors just to whoever wins the national popular vote. The national popular vote, okay? Now, to actually get rid of the Electoral College, you would need strong federal Congress majorities and a president who agrees. That's like basically amending the Constitution. Like that's a big, big, big lift. But the states decide how they contribute to the Electoral College. So what the National Popular Vote Compact does is, hey, these states, we're just going to, whatever the national popular vote winner is, we're just going to give them our votes. And it's not in effect yet, but it's once 270 points worth of states join it, it's going to go into effect. And that would mean, no matter what states they're, no matter which way they lean, if enough of an election-winning majority of votes just goes to whoever wins a popular vote, we always just get the national popular vote winner, which makes the whole Electoral College irrelevant. Like it's dead. We can kill the Electoral College easier than killing the Electoral College. And this is an idea from Ben Wickler, who was going to be like the DNC chair. He was running against Ken Martin and he lost. He's more focused on building up his state, which is Wisconsin, than like networking nationally. So he just didn't have the connections to win. So his idea is we need to pass a National Popular Vote Compact. That means like we can permanently like no partisan gerrymandering, like background weird stuff. Like we could just democratize our presidential elections and like safeguard democracy. To do that, we need to get more states. We need more states to sign the National Popular Vote Compact. And here's the good news. A lot of states already have. We have, I believe, last I checked, 191 points worth of states. Meaning we only need, 79 more points worth of states. And there's some big ones. And there's some swing states in there. And can you imagine if we didn't have to, like, just care about what swing states thought? If we could just say, no, we care about the national popular vote, fuck you, swing states, you don't get preferential treatment. Would be amazing, would be wonderful. And so if we want a state to actually agree to do that, if you want a state to do any good things, or a state to do good things, because I'm on the team of good things, you need a Democratic majority. You need a Democratic majority in the legislature and the executive branch. So like, and this is why everyone hates on Democrats, is because they don't help Democrats win enough seats to win, to hold votes and win votes in Congress. Then we give like the presidency to a Republican, or vice versa. They don't own everything, so we literally can't pass bills unless Republicans agree to them, which means like the expectations are so low. And even if you know a really, really moderate Democrat who does not seem to promise big things, it's because they know they can't get those big, nice things passed. They just can't. They don't have the votes for it, and they don't want to lie to your face and overpromise something they can't deliver. That's it. I think if we had a broad Democratic majority in Congress, even those moderate blue dogs, you'd be surprised, would start to dream bigger because they knew they actually could. And so we waste our time flipping back and forth of like, how blue should this one seat be in a majority red government? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Meanwhile, when it just becomes a majority red government, they get to pass whatever they want, which means the country gets worse. And then because we're arguing about how blue one seat, minority blue seat should be, it gets blamed on liberals. That's like the circuit that's creating this diaspora. We just feel like left out. We feel like not a part of anything good. There's a total disconnect from any belief or trust or faith or enjoyment or appreciation or pride in government. Can't you just change the law? So to change the law nationally, you need a very strong majority in the federal government all at once, which is very hard to do. Yeah, you need a supermajority. This is much easier. Okay? And so at the federal government, you have a bill needs to pass the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the presidency. The House of Representatives and Senate are parallel. They each pass a version of the same bill they like, and they swap and trade and they agree. When they both agree, then that goes to the president. And then the president can sign it into law. So you need both houses of Congress and then the presidency, and then you get it. For any bill to happen. Right now, if we tried to force a vote on Medicare for all, it's going to fail in the House. It's going to fail in the Senate. It's not going to get forward anyway. And then obviously the president would veto it. Even if we won Congress in 2026 this year, and then we tried to pass it, and we owned the House, we had a blue House and a blue Senate, and we tried to pass Medicare for all, they would say yes, then it would go to the presidency, and he would say no. We don't get it. We don't get Medicare for all. State governments have something similar. They have a state house, they have a state senate, and they have a governor. And in terms of like scale, right? Because Senate terms are longer, they're more important. You get more embedded in there. Whereas like House races are like short terms, they're quick and cheap. It's more like a casual lower entry point. It's less formal because it's short, quick terms, and you have to constantly run for re-election again. You can be easy in, easy out. Senate is like a bit more authoritative, a bit more respected. You're in there more. And then a governorship is like the big deal. So in terms of like the cost of a race, obviously it gets more expensive when you go from a local race to a state race to a federal race. Like if you are in your state, it's like, oh, this person's running for Senate. That is really, really expensive. And obviously a presidential campaign is super duper expensive. A governorship is pretty expensive. A state Senate race is a little less expensive. And a state House race is pretty cheap. And then obviously like a mayoral race is going to be like pennies compared to this. And for a state to agree to this National Popular Vote Compact, we need a blue trifecta. We don't need to win Congress. We need to win their state's Congress and then their state's governor. And there are some states, if we look up blue trifecta. States. Let's see if we can find something. It's multi-state. So let's see. Split government. Oh, this is a site I've looked at before that has. I think this is the thing I looked at before. Resources. Charts. No. Reports. No. Maybe this is not the right website. Whatever. I'm going to go back. So there are some states that have, like, on the state level, you need the state house, state senate, governorship. Then they're game to do good things. Then it becomes a blue state, and you can see, wow, it really looks like this state can do a lot of good things. So if you look at, like, if you compare, ooh, okay, here's the thing, sure, whatever this is. I don't know if this is a good site or bad site. I don't know what this is. This bolts, it could be a Nazi site. I don't know. I'm just looking for where the sites are. Okay, whatever. Let's find something better. 270 to win. So of those three at the state level, right? Like a blue state is one that just has all of them. It's like New York, Washington, Maryland, you can just have good laws because your whole government's game to govern and do good things. If you live in the deep south, you kind of rot in hell. Like it's really, really, really bad. And you have to lower your standards, and the health outcomes are worse, education outcomes are worse. It does matter. So we want to build blue majorities that can then leverage power at a federal level. But we just need to build them at a state level. If we build state power, also then the states can make sure that their states have fair elections, that everyone, can vote, and that will leverage up to federal power. And if you get passionate about one candidate, in general, you're more likely to vote up and down the ballot. So if we get you excited and we promote like a cheap local state house race in your state, and then you're more willing to vote and vote up and down ballot, then you see changes in your local and state government that affect you and do make a difference. And then state Congress is kind of like federal Congress is kind of fucked anyway. We can make that better too. That'd be really, really good. So while everyone else is focused on like, oh, Abdul al-Sayed, I want to find some nobody who, like, if we could give them like a week of celebratory social media posts and like raise $2,000, they could just flip a seat. This is doable. So we're going to basically pick our character. We're building a fandom and we're picking our little characters, and we're going to be like, oh, gee, who's your favorite character? Like, let's make fan art. Let's do that kind of thing. Let's uplift these like little people, and make them like our superheroes. Like Mr. Rogers said, I believe this was in the wake of 9/11 and how upset and heartbroken and scared everyone was. Find the helpers. Find like the fireman. Find the person who's there like helping someone up, showing someone some sympathy after they lost someone, like sitting down, having a drink with them, giving them a hug. Find the helpers. And we're going to find the helpers. We're going to find all the normal, ordinary people you didn't even realize were there that are trying to make the world a better place. If we want to rebuild a positive brand equity for the Democratic Party of who we are and what we're about. We just need to find some good, honest people. David Crowley, I think, is a great example. Like, he's just a good, sweet guy, and he wants to represent his state. He came from poverty, and he wants to make sure no kid has to face what he had to face. So yeah, okay. This is too big. This is about past elections. I don't care. States. This should be states. Ugh. I don't care about that. But, which effective states? Wikipedia. Work. Here we go. This was the page I looked at before. Trifectas have consequences, like huge consequences. You can make a state really good or really bad if you let one party have full control and then actually do what the party wants to do. We hit these like stalemates where it's locked in and split. Your state does nothing and then it gets fucked up, and then people just kind of blame Democrats regardless. The Republicans don't want to do anything. As I've looked at these like state level races and these little races, you would be shocked how many Republican candidates get in a seat because they're endorsed by like their rich friends. They get in the seats, they get the cred of having a job title, and basically all they vote on are like the non-binding resolutions to like honor and be like, we support the firefighters. Not like giving them money and resources to be better at being firefighters or like be safer. Just like, these virtue signal, like it's basically a tweet. Like, we're going to honor this person who died, this person who retired. We support the police department. It's nothing. That is a waste of taxpayer money, giving someone a paycheck to basically tweet. It's glorified tweeting. Yeah. And so when it comes to the supermajorities, right? We can either win a supermajority, or sorry, not a supermajority. We can win a trifecta for blue team, or we can break a trifecta for red team. Because at this moment in time, I see the trust in the Democratic Party is so low. I am personally more interested in building up and locking down a blue trifecta. Like, let's build some more blue states that can have something to show for it, and we can point to that and see, this is what they did. Because if we point out, hey, like, wow, Republicans do nothing. They don't do anything when they have all the power. If we break up their power so they don't have a trifecta and it's harder to do stuff, they can be like, see, they can't do anything. Their voters don't care. Because a lot of Republican voters ultimately hate the concept of government in general and don't want it to do anything. Meanwhile, if we can like build blue governments that do stuff and then point to that stuff and then give people that sense of cause and effect, people like that. That's why people like Mamdani, because he's the only one in the game who signaled, here's a problem, here's why it's a problem, here's my plan to do something about it. And then he's made update posts. Hey guys, look, checking back in, I did something about it. Even when he's a little loose with the details, like, I balanced the budget. And didn't really like touch on heavily that like, a lot of that he's just asked for more money from the state's budget. Like, which is like less impressive. But still, because people say, wow, like when I vote for someone, they do stuff and that changes outcomes and makes life better. And like that feels magical to Gen Z. And I want to show that in more places. We're going to find our little people, make them our superheroes, make them our fandom characters, our main characters. We're going to flip their seats, try to win blue trifectas. Then we're going to make regular check-in posts with them and be like, wow, look at what you did. And that'll be awesome to follow. And that'll be empowering. And we're doing that now ahead of 2028. That's when we're going to do this at a bigger level. 2026 landscape. Okay. Arizona is the weirdest one because Arizona has its House, Senate, and governorship, like all at the state level, are all up for grabs. They're all in a random scramble. This is the ultimate, like, everything is competitive. It's not that we have 2 out of 3 guaranteed or whatever. It's like everything is up in the air. And in general, we're in a blue wave year. So frankly, if there's time to do this, this is like when it's a little easier. But anything could go either way, and it's a kind of a shit show. This could be a red trifecta state. It could be a blue trifecta state. It could very well be a split state. This is like the random party mode state, okay? Michigan. The Senate is Democratic. The House flipped Republican in 2024. A trifecta is in the cards, whichever party has a good night. And this is the kind of thing, right? We know the strategy. We need to lock down blue trifectas in states, especially big swing states. They can like neutralize their status as swing states when it comes to presidential elections. Very important if you want Democrats to win nationwide. Which is why it's suspicious to me. We see also here, Wisconsin. It is sus to me that the red slops online who claim to be the far left are exclusively focused on running candidates to bomb blue trifectas and hand them to Republicans. We saw it with Graham Plattner in Maine. We saw that with Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan. We saw that with Hong in Wisconsin. Hong also was largely funded by Republican operations. Do you see why? Because she's not electable in general, which would sink the odds of a blue trifecta and take Wisconsin out of play. In Michigan, Abdul El-Sayed is just in a general election, less electable. It's a bigger lift, which hurts the odds of a blue wave. That is now an uphill battle. And I'm sorry, that hurts and that's fucked. And we could put all of our effort into helping that. I think we could get better gains by putting our effort into things without that same resistance. That's not an uphill battle as much. And see, instead, we could, with the same effort and time, put more effort into pushing Wisconsin or PA to the left. And yeah, Minnesota also, frankly, I think Minnesota is just going to be blue. Because of the attacks on Tim Walz, because of the ICE raids, the attacks, the murder of citizens, I think Minnesota is going to be a blue tsunami. I think Minnesota's got it, which means the ones I'm focused on is Michigan. I'm going to save my breath. The leftists want that. That's the only thing they're focused on, so that's their job. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Ohio is just behind. These are all big swing states. You've heard about them in every election. You have heard of these before, right? These are the big ones, and they're worth a lot of points. And if we score them based on their electoral college points, Pennsylvania is huge. Wisconsin is huge. Michigan is pretty big. Arizona is, I think, closer to like 11. It's not as big. So Pennsylvania, Wisconsin are like the big ones. Yeah, no, and we can't really predict anything, but like we're gonna, what do we want to bet on? If I want to bet on something that we're gonna win and get a good return on investment, that's not totally locked up blue, but like we could. Yep, I'm focusing on states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and maybe Michigan. But that's kind of scary. So these are the ones. Pennsylvania has a Republican Senate, a Republican state Senate, and the problem is that's kind of a hard, heavy lift. Because Pennsylvania, I grew up there, is kind of chuddy. I'm not sure we could totally flip the Republican Senate in one go in this election cycle, but we could maybe make progress there. But also, Senate races are a little more expensive than House races. It's a little harder. It's a heavier lift. We need to get more of them. We need to get like 4, I think, maybe 6, maybe 3. That ballpark. We need to hold the House. Obviously, the entire House is up for election. But the governor of Pennsylvania got Josh Shapiro, the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania, is great. He's a Democrat, but he's very like moderate and bipartisan. And Pennsylvania is a very purple state, so he's winning that by like a lot, and he's going to win re-election. That is some headwind. That's some tailwinds. I'm sorry, that's some tailwinds. That's movement pushing with us. Makes it easier. People show up because they like the governor, and they're more likely to vote with people who are the same party as the governor. The House we're on track to keep. The Senate is a big lift. That's really hard. Wisconsin, I think, is the best one. Crowley is favored to win. People really like Crowley. It's becoming this kind of well-up state where like both chambers are Republican, but they're trying to like gerrymander Republican and they failed. This is like in striking distance. If we pick some like Wisconsin House races and push them, like Wisconsin State House races, it works. Yeah. Like Virginia is kind of similar to PA in that respect. Virginia went light blue. Like Virginia locked down blue. Virginia is now like a blue trifecta, and they're starting to do stuff. If we go back to like way at the start of all of this here, open with Google Docs. Let's see if I can open this Google Docs and it works. This is our campaign template. Oh, cool. Can I edit this? Cool. I can. Let's see. Us on us. Then we have, oh gosh, this is not well made at all. Okay. Want to not do that. Okay, and we're gonna copy and paste this. Nope, it doesn't work. Test. I'm gonna paste this everywhere so we have the right style. We're gonna start writing down what our like strategy is. And we're gonna make a copy of this also. Oh geez. So we're gonna do one of these for Republicans, one for DSA. Republicans. We're gonna focus on the DSA one more because frankly, the DSA and like that progressive angle, they have all the momentum in the people right now for like young people who are online and could start advocating for stuff. That's people algorithmically we can reach. The candidates themselves are running against Republicans in their states and in their elections. But also Republicans right now have embarrassed the fuck out of themselves. They've had every opportunity to govern and they've been fucking it. They've screwed it up. They've achieved nothing. Everyone hates them. They're all depressed. Their voter turnout's real bad this cycle. So looking at Ballotpedia. So we need to kind of fill in some of this stuff. So for DSA, like how do we talk about ourselves? How do we talk about them? How do they talk about us? How do they talk about themselves? And I'm open to ideas, genuinely. Just say like us on them on us, them on them. We can fill this in. This is super, super, super useful. Because this is basically talking to other people who think they're on the left or want to be on the left and want to support stuff and do stuff. How do we pitch to them, we're the people you should work with? And here's why we're cool. Here's why we're good. Here's why we should be proud of that. And so we build up momentum, and then we're going to say, hey, in the spirit of this momentum, let's donate to this candidate. Let's uplift this candidate. I'm going to let that like sit on that for a second. If you have any ideas, put them in chat. On note.vote here, we're going to go into state candidates, state level candidates running for state legislatures or governorships. We're going to filter to our swing states we like. We have Arizona. We have Wisconsin, I'm really confident about. We have Pennsylvania. Maybe Ohio. Ohio would surprise me, but I feel like that's within reach. There's too many will take that out. Michigan, I feel like if I want to create a clear positive brand image, I need to make very clear here's what the liberals are doing versus here's what the DSA is doing and have that compare contrast message. If we put in the work to lift Michigan, then the lefties are going to take credit for it and then shit on us. That's their job. They consented to that. Good luck to them. I hope they win. I'm saying blue no matter who, but that is their specific fight. They really, really, really fought to have, so they get to have it. I'm going to fight equally as hard with everything I got, and I'm going to pick different targets, and I want to make the case that I pick better targets, and I'm smarter about those targets. Am I forgetting one of those states? We have here Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. I feel good about this. Oops. Jeremiah Frederickson, I like. David Crowley's a governor. He's big. I've been boosting him a lot. I think that's worked. It's a successful thing. And this is why I think what we need to do is start building a positive support network on social media. We need to celebrate these people and uplift them and talk about them. So we can totally do that. We can totally do that. Yeah, I like that. Us on us, we actually do the cool stuff socialist one. Yeah. Let's see. There's one. Let's shop around. Deborah Howard, Chris Thomas, Jacob Martinez, Jeff Warren. Okay, we're just gonna pick a bunch of these. We're putting them in our little shopping cart. We have a lot from Arizona. Let's take out Arizona. Arizona is very tippy either way right now. Here's another thing I found, another website. There's lots of websites and orgs that are locked into this, right? There's like the States Project and stuff. They're trying to look at how we can win state legislatures and tip those. And we sorted these by competitiveness. These all have really high scores. Another org I found that's doing the same sort of thing is Stateswin. Stateswin.org. And one message I think I really want to put is if you've noticed a big contrast difference between us and the DSA types is they are very sexist and very racist and very bigoted, very anti-Semitic. They're getting homophobic and transphobic. They're starting to snap and show that. And it's when they're on that line of like, no war but class war. They've decided and tell each other that only class issues matter and fuck social issues and fuck identity politics, and it's dividing us. And that it shows their values. And if I want to show a lot of people, these are not the good guys, and these are not doing what you think you're doing, and they're like leaving people on the go. Things that are important. I want to stand on identity politics. I want to stand on social issues. I think they do matter. And I think it's like it breaks that image of it's just a clear spectrum towards more good things. They are regressive on those issues. And so in terms of like the us on them, that's what I want to show. So in the spirit of that, of proving what we're about, something I would like to keep in mind as well with their slate of people is, are we picking diverse people? And if you look in my little cart to the right of the ones I put in here, just picking from the top most viable, it looks like we have a problem. It looks like we have a lot of white people and a lot of men. I want to make sure we can balance out a little bit and diversify that a little bit, if possible. I don't want to sacrifice too much effectiveness in the numbers, but I want to show like we're the party of the diverse coalition, and I want to celebrate that. I don't want to be part of the problem that's like, wow, let's put more white people in charge of everything, okay? Like, that's one thing to keep in mind, and in the spirit of that, what this States Win thing does, like this org, they have an eye for that. They're trying to keep that in mind. They are trying to, they have a bunch of candidates they're promoting in the same exact way, stateswin.org. And we'll see a lot of the similar names start to pop up in different places, which is super duper cool. And they have a lot of women, like they work with women's groups and stuff. And I want to see if we can like you find some like diverse picks that are still pretty good. Because they're different algorithms, you know, it's a matter of interpretation, but a lot of these people are in striking distance. Let's see what we can do. Here is another factor. So, okay, that's factor one is cost efficiency for return on your donation. Factor two is, are we promoting a good image of diversity? Factor three is going to be candidate quality on a personal level. Factor four is going to be, do their top issues align with our top issues for the broader party brand we want to build? So are these good representatives of that bigger idea? And factor five, do we know any people or organizations who are also interested in these people and could boost them? Which is important. So like, I know Digital Ground Game is an org that's doing like canvassing and door knocking for liberals. They're active in certain areas. They like interviewing candidates. Are they interviewing a candidate who's also like on this big list of kind of top names we keep seeing pop up? And so if so, you know, we should double down, right? If we're all happen to be covering the same person anyway or knocking for them, like we could overlap and like be more optimal. And I know they're doing some stuff in Ohio. You know what's really cool? I found this one here. The problem with this is a state Senate race. This Eileen Harnett LBR. This is where I grew up. This is my district, like childhood district, which is the most purple district in the most purple state. Now the problem, I looked at the Ballotpedia. Based on previous election years, Republicans win by about like 10,000 votes. So it's like a 55-45 split. Pretty much actually, yeah. And it is about 10,000 votes. That's a lot to flip. That's kind of a big flip. That's not huge. It's not like a Senate race numbers, right? We're like, oh, it's 0.1% of the vote. That's 100,000 people, kind of thing. 10,000 votes is still a lot of votes. It's kind of a big lift. We need like a 10% tip on that. The guy she's running against has been the incumbent for a very long time. He's very popular, and he has a background being like an EMT and like a firefighter and stuff. So there's like testimonials on his website, like, he saved my life. And she's like a woman who like wants good schools and stuff. So she's on my maybe list. I think it would be cool because it's like personal to me, but on like the issues and the policies, I'm not sure. On like the vibes, I'm not sure that's winnable necessarily. That's a really big lift. So like in terms of our budget for attention and returns, that is our hardest one to get. That's like a very high yield kind of thing. And we should check all these on oath.vote. That's Eileen Arnett Abiar. Let's see. 9.4. Okay, pretty good. She's a 9.4. There's someone else called Eileen. Notice how it's a 1.2. What's that race going to be? Likely R. Yeah, like she's not likely to win. But this lady, 9.4. Maybe we could do it. Bit of a stretch goal. So now we need to make a Google Sheets for this, and we're gonna see what we can do. Okay. So let's think of what we need here. We're trying to like get smart with this now and start to put it all together. And once we look at these candidates, we're gonna fill in their values and fill in our value sheet. This is a lot of a messy process stream. I hope this is helpful or useful to some of you. But I'm figuring out what are the candidates we want to support now through November on social media. And we're gonna like have synthesized easy stuff to like talk about, say, hey, like, you know, talk about this kind of thing, talk about this person, promote them, donate to them if you can. We're gonna make them like the main characters. That's my goal. We're gonna make them the main characters when they're uncontroversial, easy to support, and likable people. And part of this may include, we may honestly do like a Google form, like something I can send to you all and like rate them like on the vibes, how much you like them, how cool you think they are. And we might just pick the ones we like the most. If it's this very tight margins of error, we're gonna pick the people we can actually be the most passionate about. We're like casting for like our little TV show. We're gonna make our fandom for the next few months. We have candidate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're basically candidate name. Just do name. We know it's about a candidate. Name. State. Type. District. Number. Ooh. So here's one of the things too. Click on Ballotpedia. It has data on historically in a district. Like here's how many people voted each election. And then there's other stuff like here's how many, you know, is in each past election, here's how many votes the Republican got, here's how many votes the Democrat got. And so based on that, you can kind of see a trend and get a vibe for like the rough ballpark of how many votes does this come down to and how many votes we need to tip. And so we're going to pick the ones that are like, this honestly, it comes down to convincing like 10 people. And if it comes down to convincing 10 people, that even if it's a kind of red leaning district and we throw like a raw amount of money and attention at it, that's enough to tip 10 people. You don't need to convince everyone, but just like there's an objective cost per vote. So we're gonna start cross-referencing these lists. We have oath.vote for overall like punchiness, like effectiveness of supporting them right now. States win has like some good the diversity in mind a little bit. We have our list of like, here's the top issues that we looked at before, people actually care about. We're going to pick candidates that are most locked in with the things that people generally like. Because those are the big picture topics we're going to brag about. We're going to prioritize states that could, if we were to win blue trifectas, give us the most points total towards the 270, which is why like Pennsylvania is maybe more worth it than Arizona. But then you have to look at the flippability of individual states. And we'll use tools like Ballotpedia to figure out the actual margins and numbers of states. And we're going to be, like, our goal is to find the small ponds, the little rural districts that no one is paying attention to, where we need to flip very few actual people and that are frankly on very tight margins where like we could get those margins. And we want to basically build our credit and trust, not by the people like trying to, you know, make a big deal out of making the most problematic candidate possible who's the least electorally viable win a primary and then throw them at the national stage where they're likely to lose and then scream and cry and blame liberals and Israel and Jewish people. Like, that's a bad look. That's cringe. Like, I want to find things we can win and then take credit for, and things that exemplify an actual objective moral good and general topics that do win. Check numbers. Then we're going to have to figure out some calculation. Let's like figure this out. So we need to know like the number of registered voters, I think. Like turnout percent. Republican vote. There's going to be like a whole section of this we're going to kind of junk far back. Oh yeah, like Moneyball. Yeah, like the movie. I know the movie Moneyball. Yeah, but we're trying to like Moneyball this a little bit, right? We're gonna be smart because we can scream into the void all day. Like, OMG, like, can you believe they put up more like gilded, stupid craft stuff in the Oval Office and painted it gold? I know that's bad. You know that's bad. Are we achieving anything by saying that for the 100th time? This is my problem. Like, we have to move past Orange Man bad content because it gets us nowhere. It gets us nothing. Versus, this is our moment now because the DSA sees this. Let's put forward a clear, concise, positive vision of what we care about, why, what we're doing about it. We can win. And wow, look at us. We win stuff. Like, we need to rebuild a liberal fandom from ground zero. Oh, we'll also do like oath score. We'll just do oath score. Oath score. Because this will be really, really easy for us if we just use the oath score first, and then we're gonna pick ones with high oath score, high tip ability, but also like just the lowest turnout in general. Because I think it'll be really funny if we give like the most attention to like objectively the smallest district. Because if it's basically, oh, we have like 49% of a big district and 49% of a small district, we'll tip that 1% in both. Could be like so much more expensive in the bigger district versus literally like $500 in like can like tip a farm town. We could be gods, angry gods. There are these local candidates from like the middle of nowhere running in rural districts. It's beyond their comprehension that they could get any coverage, especially positive coverage from anyone. Maybe local news. And if there is someone in like the small town middle of nowhere where nothing happens, like a farm town, and we can like, make them popular on the internet and get them $1,000, guess what? Not only are we talking about them online and getting them coverage and attention, maybe we could then find someone online who sees that, who happens to live in that district and is like, oh fuck, I could volunteer for them. And also, because there's not many people there, we're less likely to reach them directly, but also then that candidate notices, not only do they get more money, more fundraising, more support, but also like the encouragement of knowing people see you and care can like really like make you enthusiastic and like relight that flame in your heart and keep you going. Like make you like build that confidence. I think that's sweet. Like, let's be cheerleaders. We are not officially affiliated with any campaign paid by anybody. Let's be like guerrilla cheerleaders going around and deciding we're a fandom and you are our new characters on our new favorite show. And that passion and enthusiasm helps them keep campaigning themselves, gives them like they know people are cheering them on and see them. And that feels so good and rewarding. It's lonely. And then that becomes a local news story, which means their local papers are going to be like, hey, have you noticed like these people online are like supporting them? Like, this random middle nowhere person. And they keep saying, OMG, like he's going to save Social Security. Holy shit. And the people care about that. And that becomes a news story. And then once that's circulated in the local newspaper or on their local news, then everyone in town sees it. Big brain, big brain. We're going to focus on the rural districts. 100%. We'll do like votes to tip. I don't know. Votes to tip, basically. We'll figure this out later. So we'll find a way to rank them. And we might have a second spreadsheet doing all this back-end calculation. It's Malpedia. This will be a pain in the ass project. I might do another day stream where just casual hangout Q&A stream while I keep looking up these numbers in Ballotpedia for different candidates. And then we're going to have pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3. And then we're going to have notes. We may also have, if I do get this filled out and then have like a survey, it's just going to be a link to each candidate's website. And it's going to be like, hey, notes, feedback, what's the vibe? Like rank them. How cool do you think they are? And that might help us as well. And it goes to spend this week, we're like figuring out yeah. So that's like going to be like the votes to tip. We're going to calculate this. We're going to look at the trends based on past years. We're going to like look at the turnout percentage. We're going to subtract the like Republican votes minus Democrat votes and see those little margins of error. So we're going to put in website as well. Let's put a row to the left. Column to the left, excuse me. Website. I'm also going to do maybe one to the left of this. Dossier. So one cool thing and why I want to pick candidates that are on, hopefully exclusively, but maybe not exclusively, on States Win, is that when I clicked on one, I've been looking at this Jacob Martinez guy. I've seen him pop up on a lot of different lists. Learn more. This is a cool website because it has everything here. It has a little summary. Like this website already has a lot of the work done that I want to do. On the issues, it shows what they're about and what they care about. Why this race is important. It has a timeline for that election of when you can vote. Why that state is important, and then about the districts. Really, really, really useful. Really useful stuff. Like, look at this. This is kind of it already, right? It shows demographics about the opponent. That's really good. So we might just pick ones from this list because it's easier to circulate instead of like reinventing the wheel. Because the time saves money. And I noticed they have these things like these dossiers. I'm gonna look at the social media kit too. They have ooh. Oh, so the dossier is basically just what's in the webpage. That's boring. I don't need that. Don't need that. It's boring. Bores me. I want to look at what's in the media kit I just downloaded. Give me a second. It is a zip file, so I just want to check it out. Photos. Oh, it has like pictures of the person. That is great. Oh, it's like their kind of things, whatever. They have like their things like, oh, we endorse this person, right? But they also have just they have like a headshot of the guy that's like on their webpage. They just have this picture, basically. So you can just copy that. You don't need to download the media kit. That's not worth it. The dossier is just what's on this webpage. What's the in-kind form? Oh. What does it mean in-kind? I don't know what an in-kind contribution form means. Not super clear. Not super clear. Okay, whatever. But yeah, that's neat. And they have links to all their social media, links to their donate page on like ActBlue, which is great. Their website, like let's look at this guy's website. Okay, and I have a web designer background. It's like this is where I'm at. Yeah, I guess like not monetary directly. So meet Jacob. So this is a guy running in Arizona, Jacob Martinez. Can volunteer, he can contribute, which is really cool. Seems like he needs volunteers a lot. Okay. He was a lifelong resident of the area, which is really good. He's local. No carpetbagger allegations. Really, really good. Went to law school. Really cool. And he was in the Navy. That's pretty cool. In the swing district. Look at this guy. Look at his little sailor hat. Right? Okay. Okay. West and downtown Mesa and a small portion of eastern Tempe. Cool, cool, cool. He has lots of endorsements like mayors, school board members, state reps. Okay. Also green flag. Green flag. He has diversity. In his endorsements, right? I see. Arizona's a very diverse state, shockingly diverse state. Not super black, but it's like also Hispanic as well. But I see lots of women. I see some black people. I see some Hispanic people. Really good. That's a green flag. That's a green flag. There are candidates who do not pass the vibe check of black voters. And as a general rule in politics, if you don't care about politics and you just want to know one thing to lead you towards good things, trust black women. Follow the voting patterns of black women. No one is locked the fuck in like black women. They show up and vote, and they vote for good things. You can look into why. You can talk to people and read books and learn. If you don't want to do that, and that's okay. Just trust that a little bit. Ooh, okay. Here we have as well. It looks like the state's win page might be ooh, the LD24 peeps and Bernadette Placent in AC. Okay, yeah, see? Does that mean you have connections in the area? You know people? Good, 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 good. That's good. And I'm even thinking through some of this. Like, my girlfriend grew up in Ohio, and her mom tried running for office. It was too gerrymandered to win, but she like overperformed with like the district she had, so she doesn't want to run again. But like through that, she's networked and knows a lot of like Ohio Democratic Party people. So I'm like, ooh, I could pick a race in Ohio, and I may have like an above average shot at like getting an interview or something. You know, I think I have a friend who still lives in Arizona. Like these are little things. Like I know this org that happens to be doing a canvassing event in Ohio. And so if they just happen to be in the same district as someone, like that's someone I should prioritize. Even if it's a little helpful overall, it's I already know someone else. We're working together. We're networking. We're gonna like put people together to achieve bigger things. This is we're big braining this. We're doing it. So another thing, I want to see if this is the big thing on the website. I don't need to know everyone's policies on every single goddamn thing in the universe. There's too many. Informationally, that's too much to explain. You have seen people on Twitter who just say free Palestine, Medicare for all, fuck AIPAC. That's all you know about them. That's all many people need to know about them. And they're in and they win. The problem that liberals and especially neoliberal policy wonks have is we don't shut up. We're too focused on all the goddamn data in the world, and it's too much information to communicate efficiently or effectively to achieve any end of substance. We need to start paring that down. We're going to come up with slogans for these people in some cases, if it needs to come to that. We're going to find things that like we just think are the coolest. We're like, I get that's important to you. That's kind of cringe. It's not going to play. We're going to find the things that play. And like, you know, we're not affiliated. We can say what we want. If we're going to figure out what's cool to say about them and say it. But everyone on the website typically has their policies in like 3 or so big pillar topics, because that's easy, like 3 things you can remember. Also, the order in which they show them, in reading order, from top to bottom and from left to right, shows you what their priorities are. I can turn on my camera really quick and you will see as well. These is 4. Protecting Arizona's water future is number 4. That's an Arizona specific issue. That's neat. If we were to pick them, we could talk about that more. But I may just cut it off at 3 and just see where that takes us. But if it looks like the States Win website also is aware of this and on the issues, notice they actually copied in the right order that he showed him. So we don't have to dig into each website what his big pillar topics are. And they kept the order of what his priorities are. Now, our ideal 3, remember, our ideal 3 are saving Social Security, affordability, healthcare. Those should be like the 1, 2, 3. We've got a candidate who aligns with those. That is generic Democrat. We wanted in Maine. That is John politics. But we can weigh that also. Like, what are they in line with like the goated? Or do they know the meta? If it's not clear yet, I have been a game designer in my background, and like that's kind of how I'm treating this. Like there's a rationale to this. You can pick like the right build, you know, like what we've been doing nothing but like circular firing squad, every leftist and liberal for the past 10 years, and it's gotten us nowhere. Our fluke win was Joe Biden because of COVID, and he basically just gray rocked and didn't go on media at all. He was just signal posting that he had ties to Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and that kind of worked. Okay. We'll create another column and another column. Maybe they'll have up to 5 pillars. But we really want to cut them off if we can. So this is Jacob Martinez. You like hide the overflow? That's an option. How do I hide the overflow? There's got to be a command for that, right? Maybe we'll just expand it for now. I just wanted to run over. Okay, Jacob Martinez. His website, which we have here, which we don't really need as much necessarily. May as well if we have it up. Martinez for AZ.com. State is Arizona. He is running for State House, District 9. And we're assuming these are all state level. District 9. On oath, what was his score? 9.9. Damn. We'll look into this later. His pillars are... I'm going to start pulling some windows to the side. I'm going to do the spreadsheet on my second monitor, because that's just typing boring text. His pillars are affordability, strong public schools, affordable housing, protecting Arizona's water future. And there are other factors we can consider too. I think there are trends, and I've seen charts of this before. I want to find them. If anyone knows where to find one, send it to me, please. Email it to me, cheeserachel@gmail.com. Of like, if a candidate is like a veteran, they're like on average 2 points more likely to win or whatever. They're a small business owner. That's really good. If you can find that data, we could factor that in as well. Because we'd be like, oh, he has like these X factors. Like he's a veteran. He was in the Navy. They might still be in the Navy, actually. But stuff like that is like super cool. And if we calculate those things in as well and have, you know, like race and gender and age demographics, like we can min-max the score. Also, we take their pillars. And then I could get back into the Blue Rose research data thing. It ranks all the you know, we saw like there's data for like which issues people care about more. I think we probably do it from a spreadsheet here. We could weigh their pillars by this score, by the percentage of how much people care. And then we could like take their pillars and like actually quantify them and give them like a point score. Because the oath.vote thing is like the tippability. And then we also have the point score. Like, you know, this is easy to win, but like, are they saying the right stuff? Like if they like a cost of living, we could do like 9 points, right? Healthcare, we could do 7 points. I wish I just had like the raw data on this, but I'll take the chart. Yeah, Ballotpedia has info on the votes and stuff usually. Yeah, and they have the traits, but like there's there are like the overall traits of candidates in general that tend to play better. Like if a candidate wears glasses, that actually makes you more likely to be elected because you like look smart to people. I know this is silly, but if like we could, you know, we could figure out who has like the silly little edges if we were to put them in front of people. Jacob Martinez wears glasses and he's a veteran. That sounds like a W to me. Oh, let's see. It's oh, that's him thanking this work. It's not like his own campaign trailer. So we're basically gonna pick our list of candidates. That's what we're figuring out this week. And it's gonna be a brutal gauntlet. We're gonna have our final slate by the end of this week, and then starting next week, we're gonna pick like one candidate a week, and we're gonna make them our main character. We're gonna come up with funny little nicknames for them. We're gonna have a hashtag. We're gonna welcome fan art, and we're gonna like literally see if we can like absolutely blow the fuck up these like little nobody candidates into like the stars of like every liberal commentator on Twitter, okay? And I can run around. I have a lot of connections among other streamers and creators. I'm like, hey, you should say something nice about this guy. Have you heard about this race? We're gonna like see if we can basically set the discourse for once instead of reacting to the discourse set by the far left or the far right. Thank you for subscribing, Perian One. Oh, cool. Yeah. Something needs to be filled out in Elevate. Yeah. It's like we're gonna, you know, see what we can do. I'm gonna work on basically like an algorithm for this, and then we're gonna pick our best people. And the final thing is gonna be a vibe check. We're gonna run them in front of people and see what we can do. The us on them, us on us thing, we're also gonna work on as we fill this out. We're gonna see the common trends of what they talk about and why from all of their combined websites. And that's gonna help us like fill in this image. And we're gonna have a clear fucking like, here are the things to talk about in these ways. Here are the people who represent them and are cool and you should support. Because even in the point of like, we're like, oh, Orange Man bad. Yeah, what do you want me to do about it? Like, that's the frustration point that leads to burnout and like not caring. We agree, right? And what are we supposed to do? Vote for president? Vote for Democrats in general? Yeah, I guess. But we need something better than like because it's not Trump or because we hate Trump. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna be like, okay, here's the blue things. Here's what we're for. Please send me that article. Please email me, shesrightshow@gmail.com. No punctuation. You can find it like at my website, which is shesrightshow.com. I have like a link to it, contact form. That's easier. But yeah, it's just a Gmail, my screen name. But yes, no, there's several ones. And yeah, I'm not even looking at like federal House of Representatives. I'm literally looking at state houses, which are like 10 times cheaper. We can make a difference. So that's the goal here. So I'm not paid by anyone. I'm not paying anyone. You will see transparently me deciding as a completely rogue, unaffiliated third party on these streams. Here are the people we want to focus on, and here's what we're going to say about them. Maybe we keep going for a little bit. Okay. So that's Jacob Martinez, veteran, glasses. That's pretty cool. Okay. And then if we know anyone who's like in these areas or these districts and can help, that'll also help us. Because even though it's not generally the most effective, we will happen to have the opportunity to like reach into those districts a little bit. But yeah, it's like we're moneyballing it, okay? We can do this. We can be like 30 times smarter than the DSA, just trying to rat fuck one purple seat at a time and make it red. Our candidates, who else do we have here? Let's look at Eileen Hartnett. She's on my list because this is personal to me, but I'm willing to give it up if that's not optimal. Eileen Hartnett Alvear. Her website. Copy link address. EileenForPA.com. Yay. Senate District 6. Her oath score. We do Eileen. 9.4. And what does the website say that her pillars are? Lowering costs for working families. Fully funding public education. Yeah, really popular among Democrats, not as much broadly. And then transportation and economic development. A really big problem in Pennsylvania is the funding of the transportation systems. And it's really, really sad. With a lot of Pennsylvania, it's kind of become an inshitified red state because they keep it's poor, it's struggling, and they vote for Republicans who offer them tax cuts, which is short-term relief. That means long-term, things are funded even less and things get less efficient. And then it's just like, it's worse and worse. And then because of that, Republicans defunded everything and it's shitty, then people are just voting for more tax cuts. So they vote Republican again. It gets worse and worse and worse. And the SEPTA system is constantly, it's so defunded. And this was, when I lived in Philly too, it was a huge problem. It's teetering on the brink of constant, like, it's going to go under. There's not enough money. And at the same time, the employees who are not paid enough money are like threatening to go on strike because they want more money and resources. And there's just not enough in the pot. So like, I sympathize with both sides of that. People want to be paid more and there's not enough money to pay them. And there's just constant shutdowns and like short-term, like flickering in and out of strikes. It's really bad. That's called like the SEPTA system. It's like the subway or like the metro or whatever else your area's thing is had. And they own the trains and like the local regional trains and also buses and stuff. But it makes it really hard to get around, like reliably, if you need to depend on public transportation. You're like, oh, I can't get to work today. The buses are down because like they're protesting. Although the bus drivers went on strike. And so while like the incumbent in this race hasn't done anything like exactly like super clearly bad I can focus on, nothing has gotten better. Like I lived there for years and it's just completely stalled out. And he was like winning on just like local reputation. He's also a moderate though. The best races we could find would be ones where it's like a completely Looney Tunes Republican election denier, who's just awful and a bigot, and we could replace them with someone normal. But yeah, Frank Ferry is the guy. He's been in power like as long as I can remember. He was in the Pennsylvania House, and then he switched to Senate. He's just a status quo candidate. Status quo. There we go. That's an attack angle. What we saw in the other stats, right? Over one of these tabs. Here we go. Status quo. People hate status quo. People really hate status quo. We're seeing through the matrix now. Like, do you get it? Seeing the angle of attack. Ability to make my life better is one thing. Weird thing about AI. Maybe higher up. It's in here somewhere. One of these charts I've seen. Yeah, here we go. Preserving America's institutions, 18%. Delivering change that improves America's lives, 78%. A change narrative would be a really effective angle of attack. That's like an 80-20 kind of thing. 78 to 18. There we go. That's one of the things we could use to help. So we have in our spreadsheet, where did we put our spreadsheet? I put it in my other tab, I'm sorry. Looking at Eileen now. I'll even like put in their little pictures and stuff. I think that could be fun. Um, yeah. All right. So we could do in notes. I'm gonna put Alice's hometown district. Running against a long time incumbent. There we go. Okay, so education, but affordability. Education, I think, is going to be the one outlier that pops up the most here. What else do we got? Oh, thought vote. Jeremiah Fredrickson. Comes up a ton on all these. Wisconsin, AD 92. Let me look up on states when our candidates. Y'all candidates. I hope he's on here. May not be. Wisconsin. Oh, some of them lost. That's okay. Okay, he's not on there, so we might have to skip him. But that's the one race I looked at and I really liked because he's running against like a chud who's done nothing but vote on like transphobic sports bills and then like honor the whoever bills. Like no actual legislating. And he's running against he's like a farm boy running against a chiropractor. And chiropractors are not real doctors. Also feels like an ethical kind of lift. But let's see. So that could be good, but I'm not sure if I have any connections in Wisconsin as well. Oh, I do have one. I will talk to someone and get back to you on that. See what other states? Okay, reset filters. States. Ohio. Krista Allison. Let's see you on oath. 9.3. Okay. Show me what you got. We have Rose Lounsbury. Like this is the method to the madness. We're getting through it. He's also a 9.3. Ah. Okay. Let's see here. I'm so screwed up right now. Krista Allison. She's running for Ohio House District 49, and she has a 9.3. Her pillars are education, working families, seniors, and government accountability. Maybe a little more out of touch. Working families works, okay. That includes rising utility housing costs, which is good. Workers' rights, that's always good. Economic security, that's good. Job training opportunities does pull pretty popularly as well. There's a lot of research by Third Way, which, again, Third Way, right idea, right numbers, terrible messaging. Terrible messaging. Third Way is like, actually, instead of this like leftist populism stuff, we need liberalism. And they're correct, but everyone hates them. And they have, frankly, done nothing to make people not hate them. I think they should hire me. I'm hoping with this project, I can make a better case than they do for their own agenda. And they should just hire me. I'm sure they know a lot. They have lots to learn, but I think they are also weak and lacking in crucial areas and failing to read the room in the moment. Wow, nearly half of all houses in the district earn under $50,000 a year. Okay. You received like the margins year by year. That's pretty good. Ooh, okay. So it's about like 2% behind, 5% ahead. 5% behind, 5% behind. Hmm. All right. Well, that could be pretty cool. We could maybe do this. Yeah, I like the site. The site's great. We might just only pick candidates on this site, even if they're not completely technically top optimal. I'm willing to shave off a little efficiency for the sake of like they have all the research very well put together. I really like the site. This is stateswin.org. Also, if you find a candidate that you think is a good pick for this, please let me know. Send me an email. Send me their stuff. And we're gonna put together a team. We're gonna put together a team. We're gonna put together like a lot of candidates, and then we're gonna narrow it down. Maybe like a fun game show kind of thing. On stream, we might do like push polls and like kind of figure out who we want to support. Shoot, I clicked off where? I need your website. Her website is bad. That's okay. We love Krista L. Allison in this house, okay? She seems great, but her website, that's a lot of aggressive white space and default font. That's a lot of but this is someone. It's great. It's okay. You don't need to be great now. This is a person. Imagine if we started posting about them on social media, okay? Like we can make some slick posts. We could come up with fun, cool nicknames for these people, you know? We can be like, yeah, they care about this. This is the person, this is the coolest politician I've ever met. And like we can just fake it till we make it and create like we can create like little mom downies. I would put the biggest tier race we have. Okay. In terms of cost and efficiency and the level of lift, all right, from cheapest to most expensive, you have local races like mayors. Then we have like a county thing. But we have state house representatives, state senate representatives, governors, federal house representative members, federal senate members, presidents. So my plan is to focus on the cheap little ones, ideally in rural low districts, ideally with the on the tightest margins to flip percentage wise, and ideally with the lowest number of raw votes to flip, that are the cheapest and the most cost efficient to leverage. The more we go up, the more I'm like, I don't know about this. It's like the one lady from Pennsylvania I was looking at, which is my district. That's, I have emotional ties with that. That is state senate. We need to flip about 10,000 votes. There's a lot of money and a lot of like incumbency and like a lot of deep ties. That's a bigger lift. I've noticed a lot of these like state house races. It comes down to about 2,000 votes. You could do if you have like a Congress, like a House seat in Congress, and it's really worth it and it's really close. I'm willing to consider it. I'm gonna make a separate tab for that. But that is like a factor. That is a factor of 10. Like that can be more expensive. And we can make less of a difference. Part is like the proof of the case that liberalism is awesome. We have a fandom that actually does stuff is by being like the big fish in a small pond, and ponds that are so small that there's not even any other fish. Like these are people who maybe made a social media account and like forget to post on it, or like don't post it at all, or they don't have social media. And their opponents will never see it coming. There are no headwinds. The other reason I'm focusing on state legislatures primarily is that a lot of lefties just say APAC, 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 PAC money, PAC money, PAC money, regardless of literacy or accuracy. But state legislature level people have literally no impact or relation to foreign policy. So we can circumvent the leading cause of like rat fucking discourse derailing, exhausting anti-Semitism arguing with gets swarmed. Anyone who says that is very clearly a bot or an idiot who knows nothing about civics. So we're trying to like pick our battles. We're trying to pick battles where we can create a tailwind, where we have no competition, we have no headwinds against us. And it's a very easy, doable lift. Like we're starting small, you know? That's my rationale. So I can make exceptions to the rule. So I'm trying to be tactical. I'm favoring state house over state senate, and then favoring state senate over U.S. House. But maybe depending on the size of the district, that could be comparable. Like there could be a state senate race that's like kind of juicy versus like it's a kind of a rural U.S. House. So it's yeah, like these people aren't online. Like they're boomers, right? Like they just talk to their neighbors. They don't have a digital presence. We could just be that for them and be like, hey, like look how many just a dozen casual people online can just start talking about you in a way that like makes you trend a little bit, at least among like general lib spheres. And the fact that we can actually make an impact. It's non-toxic, it's non-controversial. This is, I think, where we should be focusing our effort. So yeah, someone like this, like, you know, because what lefties have done also is they've built positive brand equity by turning all eyes into Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, where they could win in a blue state against a corrupt candidate. Easy lift, small scale in the grand scheme of things. It's a, you know, huge city, but like population, no Republican competition. They just had to win a Democratic primary against like a big field of candidates, and the front runner was like the most creepy, bad, like the old mayor who left, like Eric Adams, sex pest, just a creep, weirdo. Cuomo, weirdo, kind of a villain. Like it was easy for Mamdani to win, but based on that, they took credit for that huge win, made it a huge win, and they use him as the main character, like an avatar of everything they stand for. And they have a positive view of politics now, at least their politics, because they can point to, here's our values, here's the impact we have that they take credit for. The values they take credit for as well. Here's like the actions that happen when like we can make someone win. They feel responsible, which increases their loyalty to that idea. It's consequential, which makes it feel rewarding. Here's the stuff this person did, and it's really cool, and take credit for that. And they've also been taking credit for things done by past Democratic, moderate, liberal administrations in New York, by the way, like the trees and the trash cans. But that gives people a reason to believe and care about government again. That gives people a reason to believe and care about their party. The problem is they're doing it on lies. We can do it honestly about people who deserve it, like good people who are just working hard, not for fame or attention, but just like to do the right thing. And we can give them a boost. We can give them some like attention, right? Like they don't even know what social media really is. And like this, like that's the impact I want to make, right? We can do the Mamdani strat better and for better people, for better reasons, with better results. Yeah, so I am going to, I might just sit down and like churn through a lot of this later. That's okay. I'm starting to lose my voice, and my partner got home, and I'm kind of hungry, and I'm starting to kind of T-stars a little bit. But this is the plan. This is what I'm doing, and I'm hoping by maybe tomorrow, if there's like fun videos we could watch or react to or something, would be good. If anyone has any, send them to me. Is anything you want me to react to? It feels generally political or whatever. Like I can do that on one monitor while just casually filling out this chart, and we'll fill that out, and then we'll kind of like overlay all those candidates, and we'll see what the big trends and themes are. We need our big trends and themes and like our tone, right, and our Rand voice. We'll pick things that sound the coolest to us, and then we'll start hyping these people up. We'll pick our list of people. We'll decide which ones we like the most, and we will hype them up. Cool. Let's moneyball this. Let's moneyball this, okay? If Republicans can do it, if weird communists who are basically just Republicans can do it, if K-pop fans can do it, we can do it. I mean, we do it. People get goddamn healthcare. So that's what we're gonna do. I will see you all tomorrow. And also tomorrow, I will be going on a Wix stream as well. We can announce this. Talking about like how we defeat MAGA. That's what this is, right? That's what this is. We're gonna be like, oh, here's the obvious attack vectors. Here's how we can leverage online attention to best do that. We're gonna we're gonna lock in blue trifectas by flipping cost-efficient state legislatures where our support goes the furthest, that make the biggest impact. Here's the people, Here's what we say about them. Here's how we talk about them. And then we just need to funnel some enthusiasm and some money their way. And we can literally like do this. Like we're riding the passive tide of a blue wave. Let's exploit that as much as we can for the sake of good things. So like we're figuring out the meta. We're using the meta. Thank you, CSA, for telling us the meta. Thank you, Republicans, for telling us the meta. Fuck you guys, though. I want healthcare in schools. See you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Oh, I should plug myself more. If you want to support me, you can go to shesrachel.com. You can donate to me. You can send me an email, and I also make merch. I'm gonna make new merch. I need to update all this, but yeah. So, bye.